can get out. What's up? What's up? What's up, brother? We just the steering wheel. What's up? Blessings.
It's the whole feeling about just raw horsepower under your foot. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
All right. So we're sitting here. Welcome back. Welcome to another exciting episode of Burning Tires with Greg Leone. It is a buzzcast. And I'm here today with a very, very special guest, Jeff MAMORA, and he is a master Jeff MAMORA. You got it. That's a title, man. That is like a big part of what you do, and we'll get into that in a little bit later. But yeah, Jeff's my brother. And he's a dear friend, and I've known him for a long, long time. And I'm so grateful and so blessed to be able to sit down with you and talk to you about just all of these things. And so we're going to get into the episode, and you guys sit back and relax. And if you like, subscribe, and comment, throw some comments, what you want to hear, who you want to hear on this show. It'd be great to hear about. So welcome, brother.
Blessings. Thank you for having me here, brother. Thank you. I appreciate you, and I appreciate all you do.
I appreciate you and all you do. And you have an incredible story. And I'm really excited to share that story and to talk about that story and to kind of dive a little deeper into that story because it is I think it's a very inspirational story, and I think everyone's going to really benefit from all these things you have to say and all these things that you've lived through. And you were there in the beginning of this sport compact, this import street racing phenomenon, which has become as it's become. And and I know both of us back in the day never ever thought this would be a phenomenon. We were living it. So I want to let's start at the beginning. Okay. Let's start at what got you into sport compacts, and let's start at the journey that led you all the way to that very genesis, that first thing that sparked you for getting an import and whatnot. So, let's start off, and it's an incredible story what you brought you here to this country too, right? Yeah.
So basically, I came to the United States in 1992, right before the LA riot.
Okay.
I knew how to write English, but I wasn't speaking any much English at all, especially American English,
Right.
So I was so blessed, even though it was challenging, it was quite challenging, for those 2 years I was able to get to become a licensed psychiatric technician. And for you to become that, and I had amazing record in terms of my basic psychology, it was just I was a functional alcoholic already since I was 11 years old. Wow. So it's just the commitment. Everything I do is a matter of commitment,
Right.
For right now, I'm a master healer and master teacher, but everything is just the same. It's a matter of like it's a do or die. So when you have that,
and was alcoholism like a family? Was it like a cultural family thing? Generational?
it was available.
Right.
It was available, and it was just like it was like self-medicating,
Right.
you know. And so even through all that, you know, I was depressed. I was, you know, like self-medicating, but yet even barely learning how to speak English, this and that, I was able to be really successful in terms of I jumped a year when I went here in high school.
Oh, wow.
And then, you know, I didn't know like the high school here in America was actually 4 years.
Okay.
So I was lacking a whole 1 year of credit of education.
Because it's 3 years in Indonesia? Right.
Where during that time. So
right. What island from Indonesia?
I'm from the city called Bandung, which is the satellite city of the capital. So it's from West Java.
Okay.
You know. So basically it's just with all this commitment, even though I was doing stupid shit, drinking, this and that, but I was still really excelling in school. So I was able to challenge GED.
Right.
And just to get 50 credit.
Oh, is that what you needed? 50 credits?
50 credits for that year. And, you know, I had to learn, you know, like American history and all that stuff,
right.
you know, because I just came to the United States. Anyhow.
They don't teach a big chunk of American history in Indonesia, right?
No, and then the English is very different. You know, I remember like hot girls saying, "Hey, what's up?" I look up.
Very literal, right?
Literal. Like I was like, man, I was like... Yeah, it was you know, it was a journey. It was really challenging, you know.
LA English is different than the rest of the country. It just seems, you know.
I during that time I didn't know. I just
right.
you know, I understood English. I couldn't speak it. I knew how to write it,
right.
but I couldn't speak it, like especially American English.
And everywhere you go, if you meet people and you're not in this country there and you speak this dialect, you speak the colloquialisms and the vernacular of Southern California, they spot it right away.
Yeah, and not too many people like us.
No, actually, they love this accent. As far as all the American accents, this is the favorite in the world, it seems. You know why? Because all the movies speak this similar vernacular. Yeah, unless they're New York movies, then they're like, hey, forget about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you really got the grasp of English in a very short amount of time.
A very short amount of time, and I had to go to a very condensed program to become a licensed psychiatric technician, and I was, out of 50, it was only 8 that graduated with during that time. And, you know, it was like that's like when I'm thinking back and sharing these stories, there were miracles every day. Like there were not even hundreds, there were like thousands of miracles during that period of time. I just didn't get it because I was, you know, like either drunk or just committed to just learning.
Right.
You know, and this is just like I defy the typical, you know, the typical thing. Like I could still just like learning new things, new words, and
you defy the typical immigrant story.
And then even with a little bit of drinking, I was still. I mean, I had 100% of my anatomy final. That's 350 questions.
I mean, if you don't know, if you've never taken anatomy, it is the hardest thing to take, and not only so. And I'm gonna put this into perspective for people who are listening or people who are watching, is anatomy is the hardest thing to memorize. You have to memorize not just, you know, a few things. You have to memorize pretty much every single thing in the body. And those who know, you know.
Imagine, I came to the United States in 1992. In 1993, I took the course for a whole year. Right. So I only been trying to learn how to speak English in a year.
Right, and it's in English.
It's in English.
Well, I mean, the body parts are, it's in English.
So I had to learn all this new wording in English. So I had the first thing that I learned from one of my cousin's friend, it's like, this is a perfect opportunity for you to learn English the correct way. So don't learn English in trying to interpret it. You learn English how to speak here. So I walked around with just like a fob. Right. You know, people made fun of me. You know, I had like long hair and shit. I had to walk around with the dictionary. So I learned new words in English. As
Yeah,
how,
do you have that picture? Do you have the picture of you with the long
yeah,
hair?
I do.
Like, because you were like heavy metal, rock and roll.
I
right?
was
like,
I was a metal kid. Yeah,
You were a metal kid. Yeah,
I was a metal kid. Yeah,
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
yeah. So anyhow, so from that, and I was able to get a job. And check this out. This is why I love the American culture. As I'm you know, like my root is Indonesian, but I'm a proud American.
Right.
You know, due to the fact like, where in the fuck can you go in the world? Excuse me. Where in the heavens can you go in the world? You know, barely 17 years old, I was depressed. You know, I was suicidal even, right? But then I was highly functioning.
Right.
And yet I was able to purchase a car and start street racing because I was able to become a licensed psychiatric technician and work as a charge nurse at 18.
Wow. And that was all at 18.
18. I was
Wow.
a charge nurse at 18 in this subacute ICF intermediate care unit dealing with developmentally disabled that are heavily with medical issues. So if you don't know what you're doing, people die.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Like if I had 10 patients that will have heavy, grand mal seizures.
Wow.
If you don't run with like Ativan or Valium drawn up with an O2 tank,
Right.
that will get blue and
Yeah, man, if you've never been around somebody with a seizure.
yeah. So but then that's the thing. It was because of my martial arts background. Is that I'm used of
Yeah,
dealing
you
with
approach
that.
it head on.
Approach
yeah.
it head on, you know. And
But that's not. I mean, let's pause on that. If somebody you know has if you see someone having a seizure, you know what I mean. Don't put your fingers in their mouth.
Nope.
Don't just keep their head from hitting stuff.
put it on the side.
Put on the side
Because
so they
the
don't
tongue
choke.
the tongue will fall back.
Roll them on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep them from like hurting themselves, and
They will break their bones especially when grand mal.
Yeah,
grand
grand
mal
mal.
seizures like huge tonic-clonic motions, and they will hit like a wall or something or like a table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just thrash
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah. I've never
Now
experienced
just
that.
imagine if you have to drive a needle in that type of tight muscles. If you don't have like a quick punch,
Yeah.
you'll bend the needle and you got to draw another one while they're turning blue.
Right. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, man, 18.
Yeah. At 18, yeah.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my boot camp before I worked with 3 years and a half of that, and then I worked with criminals.
What's the other things that you do when somebody's having a seizure? Maybe we might save someone's life tonight. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
basically just turn them to the side.
Turn them to the side so they
Turn
don't
them to the
choke.
side and make sure that they don't have anything that is actually it's going to get hurt. And number one is like, well, you call 911, this and that, and you
Right.
got to see their, ABC, airway, breathing, and circulation.
Right. Yeah.
Airway is a big thing.
Right.
So whatever that you need to do, whether let's say if you turn them to the side, if someone has like a big ass tongue, you got to make sure it's actually on the side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the main thing, and then make sure if, God forbid, if they're eating this and that, you got to get that out.
Right.
You know? So if it's not, then just make sure that's airway. Airway is the number one thing, and then if it's, well, yeah. That's about it, because we could go to details, but it's just it's too much.
It says a lot. But
Yeah, but
just
then
the basics. To get
just the
somebody
basics
through.
and that, and
Because
then-
I've experienced that. 5 a.m. we're at a big parkour adventure up in San Francisco, and a friend of mine had a grand mal seizure at like 5 a.m. We were all sleeping, and we all woke up to him just thrashing and just and-
you'll hear that shit
and it
will
was
rattle. Yeah.
and it was just basically keep him from hitting his head on stuff.
Yeah,
'Cause he was starting to go for he was coming off the couch, and we had to catch. I instinctually caught him, and then rolled him on his side, and then just kind of massaged his jaw because it was just so clenched.
Yeah,
to let it
so
go.
just
Yeah.
make sure also because they might buckle and hit the back of the head.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah,
a
there was
pillow,
that.
like some kind of pillow, and a lot of time they will start drooling a lot because it creates a lot of saliva,
Yeah.
and make sure they don't choke on that.
Yep.
Because if you choke on that, it goes. We call that aspiration
Yeah.
of
yeah,
pneumonia.
Right.
As if you aspirate it, that's not good.
That's not good.
That's not good. So that's the thing. So when there's liquid, sometimes the body will create it, trying to push
We
it
just
out.
kept talking to him. Just kept talking. It's okay. We're
you
here.
know?
We're
And
here.
airway. So
Yeah.
I mean, if you have an O2 tank, put an O2 tank.
Yeah.
But if it's not,
Cool. Yeah.
yeah. So
So you were dealing with this. So you're dealing with multiple people. You had
50.
You had 50 people.
I have 50 to 55 adults,
and they weren't. It wasn't just about seizures. It was all kinds of things,
all
right?
kind of shit.
Was there self hurting or self harm and
all of
of
them
it?
is very self injurious behavior. I have 10 that the G tube. You know what G tube is, right?
Oh, gastro tube, yeah.
Yeah, gastro
For
tubes.
food.
I have 10 gastro tube. I have 10 severe diabetics. So when they drop their blood sugar, they will have seizures too.
Wow.
And then you know, like, because
That's
they
a
also
lot,
have bad
that's
rails.
a lot of responsibility at 18.
Yeah, bro.
I mean, I know some 25-year-olds who that's way too much responsibility for
And
them.
I'm still
40-year-olds
still learning the culture.
Yeah,
I'm
and
still
you're
learning
the culture.
And then it was so much narcotics. It was, you can't after round. I had phenobarbital
Right.
in like 1 liter bottle.
Jeez.
You know, that's how much narcs that we give out for, you know, because a lot of them are liquid. So because of choking precaution, you know,
yeah, it's true.
let's say if like a patient would have like a G tube and then they don't have like say a liquid Valium or Ativan, you have to crush it. You have to dilute it, and you have to know.
And also so they can't save it up or whatever.
No, and then you got to make sure it goes
in the tube.
and then goes in the stomach, then it's stuck in the tube. I mean, there's a lot of intricacies, but then.
So when you were doing all this, you were also street racing.
That's what got me into street racing because I was already start earning income, solid income, you know, living on my own, and you know, everyone. It doesn't matter. Majority is Asian, but if you're in any kind of like, if you're hanging out with everyone was all about Hondas or, you know, something import that needs to be.
Right. And where were you living at the time?
I was living in Pomona.
Pomona was an epicenter too.
Yeah, Pomona, and then Ontario
and the Valley.
Montclair.
Yep.
And I was only two exits away. I used to live off of Vineyard and Fifth, which
you were
is
right there.
You know, so you know.
Right next to the epicenter.
So it's just, I mean,
what year is this?
1994.
94. And what was your car? What car did you buy?
It's a beat up EF blue, light blue, baby blue kind of EF hatchback. Yeah.
And
when I got it, it was already got, you know, those side markers, the red nipple.
Yeah.
I call it pimple, whatever. And he already has HKS exhaust, HKS.
Those are
filter.
so rare and expensive right now. The crossover HKS exhaust with the two tips, it almost looked factory.
Yeah.
They're so much money right now.
Oh man, I wish I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I ran that thing to the ground. It was like start breaking down, and then
single cam in it.
It was a 1.5, but then I thought I was, you know, 4-speed.
Yeah. Oh, there was the they call them the STD version. That they literally called it the STD.
It
version.
fucking sucks because it's
Did
like
you know
dual
that?
point. It's like
the dual point,
Yeah.
right? So the dual point Civic in that special blue, they called it the STD.
I did not know that.
Did you? That's the STD model.
Fuck.
I don't know why they I don't know. Something lost in translation, but yeah, those got really good fuel economy.
Yeah.
You probably got like close to 40 something fuel economy on that.
Yeah, but the gearing sucks. Second gear, like, it feels like I could go up to like 30 miles an hour.
Oh yeah.
But
four
yeah,
speeds.
but then after that we start fixing it up, and then it was, you know, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you do to it? What's the?
Oh, it was fuck, man. We did all the shit. Like I went from ZC, you know, the place racing, Gil.
Yeah.
right?
You want to know something funny? I worked at Place Racing.
No way.
Yeah. You swapped a ZC in a blue.
Yeah.
I probably did the wiring on that because this is 94, 95, right?
Yeah.
I worked for Gil in that era.
Wow.
Yeah. And I did his wiring. I was like specialized in doing the dual point to multi point.
Yeah. It was a thing that he did. He was the only one that was able to do it. If I remember correctly.
Right.
You know, he had to do that to put it as ZC, and then after that,
and it's not far from here actually. So like we're parked outside of Honda Fiend.
Honda Fiend.
Yeah,
my boy. Shout out, Eric.
Yeah, shout out to
my
Eric.
Boy. Yeah.
He's doing work right now.
Yeah.
We'll
man.
get to that.
All right.
But this is where we're at. But yeah, Place Racing wasn't far from here.
No, it was Covina.
Covina, yeah.
Yeah.
Just down the street.
Azusa, I believe. Of Azusa. I'm not sure the brand.
That was my first real industry job.
Yeah, because I remember, I think it was LJ.
LJ Garcia.
I
No.
think LJ.
LJ was at LJ always
No,
did.
he was getting work done over there.
Oh yeah, LJ
Yeah.
got some stuff done there.
And yeah, so from that I went to put some 50 shot in there and fucking I think what's his name? Darren from Pocket Rocket.
Pocket Rocket Darren, yeah.
Put a 50 shot and then just not even like barely, not even a mile. I tested out on when I get on the freeway. Car caught on fire.
That was Kurt too. That was like KG Kurt and Darren were doing stuff together.
Yeah,
with all
I
that
saw
nitrous
Kurt
stuff.
over there, but
Yeah.
Kurt didn't do it. It was Darren that was trying to be cool.
In
And
the early days.
so
right?
it was off the battery terminal.
Uh-huh.
It was shorting out from the intake, and so it was a dry setup.
Yeah.
So the steel braided line blew up.
Oh, it was running. The steel braided was running and touching the positive terminal on the battery, and it was running through that into your intake pipe, and that's why it was grounding.
Something like
that's
that. But
what happened.
so it caught on fire,
Yeah.
and then he fucked up my wiring, and then because it was the dual point, it was some weird wiring from the place.
Yeah.
And you know what their solution is? Like, fuck it, take out all the fucking fuel injection shit. We put Mikunis. Okay, fine.
Side draft Makunis. Yeah.
We put some webcams, Mikunis. It was cool, and then took it to Palmdale, ran like shit.
When that was on the ZC, or that was still
ZC.
on the ZC, twin cam ZC.
Yeah, and I was living in Ontario and working in Norwalk.
Yeah.
And I always drive it, my shit everywhere.
Carbs are the greatest sound.
Yeah,
man.
but fuck,
side draft
man.
carbs. Oof.
It's tough for me to get a hot date, man. I be smelling like fuel, and I took up the fucking.
Hey man, that's the that day. If she's cool with you smelling like race
Fuck,
fuel,
dude.
she's a keeper. I tell you what,
Yeah,
I had side drafts on my Integra, on my DA Integra, and
I just wish I knew how to tune it, but how did you were able? Because I didn't know how to. I mean, I'm not really a.
I did my best at tuning them. I wasn't the best. I used to go to Advanced Engine AEM when it was Advanced Engine Management, which is a little tuning shop, but they sold TWM stuff and they sold parts for Makunis, and so that was like the place to go to get, like, you can get jets there. You can get, like, John Concialdi would always give you advice. He would come out in the parking lot and always help tinker with the car, and so I'd love to sit down with him. He's like one of the old school industry guys, but that's how I was able to kind of figure out and not run like crap on
Yeah,
it.
well, it was. I forgot who tuned my carbs, honestly. But then I remember Beezy help out a little bit at the track at Pomona.
Yeah.
I mean, in the street it was pretty quick for what it was.
Were you juiced on it too? Were you nitrous on it?
No, that's too iffy.
Yeah.
And then, but then I go back to single cam,
Okay.
and then
What happened to the ZC? Did the ZC blow up, or what happened?
no, we just I wasn't it was whatever. And then with the single cam,
Oh, was it a carbed ZC?
yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, the carb ZC, because the fastest in the street at that time was
Peter Yum? PY. Oh no.
no, this was before. It was a white Cherokee. It was Doug's older brother, the twins.
Okay.
So I was trying to be cool like them. It's like, oh, it's just ZC and carbs. I got that. So we just need a little, like I didn't know, I was just trying to be cool. Like, okay, I think I could do it. No, it was a lot more shit to it.
It's a lot to it, yeah.
And then like, he ran good for what he was, but I was like, yeah. And then after that, we start running single cam, and
There was so much vacuum.
I was hanging out with
Remember the vacuum, all the vacuum.
that vacuum
wiring
advanced
on-
shit.
No, but remember on those, the carb ZCs had like 1 million miles of vacuum line. Do you remember that? He pulled by most of that off, but like
Yeah, well, I don't remember the details.
because the carb guys were I ran carbs, PYM Peter Yum, PYM
PYR, yeah.
PYR
Yeah.
Peter Yum, and then there was Bill from Speed Garage, the yellow Integra, and then who else? There was like Tony Fuchs
Oh,
with the Integra.
I didn't know.
Carb nitrous.
I guess
Integra,
the only people that I knew that ran hard with ZC at that time was the twins, Doug's older brother, but BZ was single cam.
It's like David or Danny.
Yeah, and then so I was trying to be cool like that. I was like, cool, I want to be fast, and then it didn't really. I mean, it worked okay, but it wasn't really
Right.
near what I wanted to be. So I started hanging out with Peter, Eric and all that, and then we start just putting a single cam. We had our own port heads, this and that, and as a group, we started a shop down the street. It was off of Vernon, called Mutiny Raceworks.
I remember Mutiny.
So with our head work and just milled the head to the death. But we had our own. We were selling our own cams and head when JG was barely doing it too. We had our own throttle body, and then we used to get
like a bored out factory throttle body. And
with the lathe machine.
Yeah.
So Babe Urson actually lent us his lathe machine.
Oh really? Yeah, Babe Urson. Wow.
So Babe Urson was doing all our cams.
Yeah.
So, bro, like not bad for a single cam, just with head work. We were running like low 13s, 13 flats.
Yeah, doing the regrinds, right?
13 flats
down,
and not tuned, just whatever it is.
Right.
Until 13 flat, 13.3.
But that was crazy fast for a single
That's
cam,
super crazy fast.
like,
I mean, and then after that we yanked that out, and there's a new movement, the LSV Tech Frankenstein, right?
Yeah.
And then my friend Mark used to work for Gil too.
Right.
Trying to figure it out. So we were building our own kits of LSV Tech using copper line.
I remember Mark. Yeah.
And then, I don't, for the record, I don't really work on cars. I just help out. So I have Eric, Brian, but mostly Eric and Peter at that time.
Right.
So we were like, so the wiring stuff, Mark did it. And the copper line shit, I mean, I fucked up a couple of blocks because we have to drill for the dowel pin. And I kind of went too deep, and there was the block.
Yeah.
And we just throw a B16A pistons in there.
Right.
LSV Tech with our, with our cams.
Yep.
And then with the 2-plug EF, regular SI ECU, like 88 ACU.
Right.
12.8. So for a street car.
12.8 was huge.
No, for a street car, that was the only street car that's running 12s that's being driven every day.
Yeah, daily driver.
Daily driver. Other than that, that was like 12.6s, 12.7 was Peter.
And there was still your little hatch, right?
And I was driving every day from like, Ontario to Norwalk. And put it this way, me and Eric went to Palmdale, and me and Eric's been building cars, let him drive it. We switched driving, and, we break like 6 pressure plates on that thing.
Yeah.
And he was, for that setup, we don't know how much he was making, but...
Same Eric
right here.
Yeah.
And then we put solid pipes I think we really hurt our back. With broken pressure plate, we drove home with solid pipes in the back.
Solid pipes? Oh, solid pipes.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Oh man, that was horrible.
So, okay, I'm gonna explain solid pipes. The theory of the evolution of front wheel drive drag racing, because that's what this is, right? This is the dawn of the sport compact, the rise of the sport compact, which is front wheel drive, and that was the craziest part, is that no cars front wheel drive were doing anything, racing the rear wheel drive big
Ruled
imports.
the
It was
world.
like no displacement for displacement, hit the gym, right? That's the vibe. It was all like those like sports jocks in their Mustang. That's what it felt like. When I was growing up, it was always like the jocks had the Mustangs, and we were like this counterculture with the cars, with the front wheel drive Hondas, and we got laughed at.
Oh fuck, dude. We got enemies everywhere. The V8 hated us.
Right.
I remember trying to buy MSD and like a the tack meter, like at a super, I think it was Super Shop.
Super Shops, yeah.
Super
there's a
Shops.
Super Shop not far from here.
Right, and then that was the only thing around Montclair, Pomona area, I forgot, and then or Upland was it? So they laughed at like, "What are you fixing? Putting that in a rubber band?"
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, and then the VW, the Volkswagen fools, right? We go and right here, Glendora on Sunday nights and in and out. They're much faster than us because they've been racing like 30 years ahead from us.
Yeah, every bug was like a 10-second bug.
It was like fucking crazy, like carbureted, turbo and shit. I know this kid was just spanking us for a whole year until we barely catching up.
Yeah, they were 10 seconds. But here's the deal. If you ran them twice, there was a 50% chance they'd break on the second run.
Not only that, they sometimes caught such a high wheelie,
Yeah, but they would break. They'd get a good run in, and then that next run was like half and half. The fast bugs, you can run them again, and you can have a 50% chance of beating them because they're gonna break or something's gonna go wrong. It's just the way the world.
And then we're still learning, the slicks and all that stuff. And then
But let's
so the 12.8 that car
right.
And anyways, on the way home from Palmdale,
And you're on solid rods. So what we used to try and do is trying to figure out how to get these cars to hook.
Yeah,
and
60
traction
foot, yeah.
traction was our biggest problem because physics were against it. And if you think about the car, the wheels are in the front. So when you launch, all the weight is going to transfer on the back tires. Now you lose your front traction when it transfers on the back tires. So the thought process was, if we can stiffen up the back by taking the suspension completely out and putting in solid rods, it's not going to transfer, right? And we used to do all kinds of crazy stuff, like jack the back end. Remember when the back ends were like stink bugs? Mm-hmm. These cars were they were off-road cars in the rear and drag cars in the front. It was ridiculous. And that was before wheelie bars. That was before they figured out wheelie bars. And that's just the evolution. I remember on my CRX, I used to create I had like a limiting strap that was like a rod that would have down travel, but it wouldn't let the suspension come all the way up.
Yeah.
And it was to not let to create a bunch of bump steer.
I remember my homie's car. We put straps.
That was another solution to that. But it was
but then if you snap one, not good.
You're gonna find the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this was all the evolution, how to get these cars to go faster, because we were so limited with power and tuning. It wasn't even power, it was like tuning.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. This car is a phenomenon because it was so fast for what it was. It wasn't tuned.
Right.
Not even a type. It was like a B16A intake manifold.
Oh wow. Yeah.
But it was our head and our cams, and
Right.
that's what we used. We used to supply even head and cams for a road race at that time. It was working so much.
Yeah.
Everything that we were doing, it was working for some reason. And that's just a phenomenon. Sometimes you can't even really explain it.
Yeah, it's just sometimes you had good luck with combinations.
And to put it into perspective, like my friend Mark set up the VTEC. He just run like a, what do you call it? Like a modulator, like a relay.
Yeah.
So he hooked up a relay to a shift tack.
To my little pill, your little shift pill, and so when it would,
So the VTEC will. So we launch in this cheater slicks at like around 4.
Yeah.
On VTEC. So it bugs a little bit, but it's not spinning.
Right.
So as soon as it's hooking up, it's like, man, I remember Eric. Eric used to take my car, just
That was the trick though.
We
Remember?
were
So
VTEC
VTEC was such like a
the only car that was actually able to beat us in Ontario was this guy Keith. He had like a yellow coupe turbo GSR.
I remember Keith.
Turbo GSR. I think he's Filipino Asian kid.
Yeah, I remember Keith. I remember that
other
car.
than
Beautiful
that,
car though.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
with Panasports.
Yeah, 100% remember that car, Keith.
Yeah, so
he was fast.
But guess what? We eventually I think Eric or Dominic beat him.
Yeah,
with my car.
Yeah.
So that was like
he'd spin.
Yeah, but he was the fastest.
He was fast.
But I mean, for an all-motor car back in the day to whoop on like a swap GSR turbo,
right?
That was fast. That was pretty cool.
That car was cool though. I remember that car was cool.
Yeah, that car was. Yeah, it was clean too.
I think I beat.
So my car was always not.
I beat that car on nitrous in my DA.
Mm.
Lots and lots of nitrous. I didn't beat him by much though.
Yeah. So imagine
But you're like all motor.
All motor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's pretty cool. And then so during that era, like in our crew, like if you could drive better, you could just jump into my car. I still have that attitude. You could jump into my car and
still have that attitude. Yeah.
Yeah, but not only that, like we be blowing up motors.
You're telling me, you're like, hey, take a pass. Take it for a pass. I was like,
but it's like I didn't. I didn't know how to work on cars. I still don't know much about actually hands-on. So, like,
I think you're okay. I think you just don't. It's been a long time, and
but what I'm saying is, like, the homies that we were doing all the work. We'd be pulling on all-nighters before Pomona. That was so sweet. Before Pomona, pulling an all-nighter.
Yeah,
that's
the way it goes.
And then sometimes we just switch out cars. I mean, we would have only a few of us, or like a whole crew that have chip ECU.
Right. And
So we would run at Pomona, get in the line, like we go back to the pit, and we will actually run and pass the ECU over the fence.
chances are I chipped that ECU. Me and Eric Lapka from Yale Prototypes, we worked together, and that was my side hustle, was
Yale
shipping
Prototypes, I remember.
shipping ECUs. And so, if you remember Yale Prototype, that's one of my ECUs that I used to go and sell.
Oh, wow.
That was me and Eric figuring it out in the old school. Yeah.
So it was just that. But right now, like from that, and I graduated to CRX with B20 VTEC, but it was a little bit robust. You know, this it runs like a 12.2 at Palmdale.
Right.
Imagine that. Drove it up there.
And 12.2. So when we say Palmdale, we're talking about LACR, LA County Raceway, and it's at altitude.
Yeah.
So it is a high altitude track, which didn't really bode well for all motor cars. So if you did like a 12.2 at Palmdale, you can come down to Carlsbad or Terminal Island, you could run like a high 11 or like 11.8 at sea level.
And not only that, it's
Something
just
like that.
and it's tuned, but it's not tuned for up there. I mean,
Yeah.
but this car was pretty cool, and people laughed at my combination because I had Endine combination. So I had Endine head, I had June 3s.
June 3.
So I had the B20, but I have 14.5, almost 14.5 compression, but it was Endine pistons, long rod combination. So
Yeah.
I rev like a GSR.
Did you have the button pistons where you had to put those little inserts in there?
No.
Or did
It's
you
just
have
for
a-
street? I still drove it from Ontario to Norwalk every day.
Right.
With that motor. I mean, we tried that motor even in my friend's car. I think it was Brian's. I think it was in Brian's car. It was from Swap Shop.
Okay. Yeah.
So, it's like, so if I remember, so in this CRX was like Jerry Bill's dad painted it. It was like a melon,
wow.
it's the same copper melon color like yours.
Oh, like my copper CRX?
Yeah, it's
Burnt
kind of like
orange?
that
Yeah.
melon copper. And then I had a 4.9 final drive,
Okay.
long first gear ATS, short second gear.
Right.
I had a 4.78 final
Okay.
cable, YS1
Okay.
with LSD already in there. And I was sponsored by Gear Speed.
Okay.
So
Right.
it was all polished. It was the carbon synchro stuff.
synchros, yeah.
I regretted it. I sold it. But
Yeah, this is the beginning of.
I mean, I
actually
was shifting
getting
at
into
92.
This is the beginning of getting into transmission stuff.
You
I
know,
mean, that's really
92.
made the
Well, at that time, ATS was the only one,
right.
and
You take those long like the LS first and second, and then you do like the GSR top gears, or like the B16 top gears.
But
Yeah.
what I'm saying, during that time, there's no CRX with the 4.78 final.
No, it's
Right?
the early days.
And then after that, I switched it to 4.9,
Oh wow,
and
this
that's
is like a road race style.
well, during that time, we didn't know. We thought we needed to go to 4.9 because it's all motor.
Wait, was it a like a Pro Drive 4.9?
No, it was ATS, all ATS.
all ATS stuff. Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
And that was really super rare.
Yeah.
And the company that did it was actually, that's what they do. They rebuild Honda transmission from Gear Speed at that time.
Right.
At that time I had a homie that worked there, James. I think James right now does his own transmission work.
Okay.
Ghost. I think his name is Instagram by Ghost now. So I mean that thing
wasn't
was,
Wicked James, was it?
No,
No.
it was
Red Hatch.
he used to work from Gear Speed, and then he branched off. He's doing his own thing.
Okay.
I think Ghost works.
Ghostworks.
Yeah, he does. He puts road racing stuff like high end
Yeah.
work on putting transmission together. Yeah, but what I'm saying, like right now, that thing would still be awesome. I tuned it with the thing was like I tuned it at Sean Church.
Yeah.
It was making
Church is
247 at that time, so I was like, wow, it was really cool, right?
Wow, that's
But
good.
well, check this out though.
14-to-1 compression.
Yeah, and I was like, wow.
Built
And then
fast.
he ran really, but it was on the HF. Just imagine that. I used to actually drove to Irwindale on skinnies. Gangster. Back in the day, we don't give a fuck.
We don't. Yeah.
People look at you like, you're crazy. Like, we didn't know that we were being crazy or stupid. We just thought,
Yeah, I never.
because it was like, I'm by myself, right? I don't want to just.
So somebody said there's a term for that, for driving a full race car on the street, and I can't remember what it is, unfortunately, but there's a term for it that somebody told me, and I don't know if it's true or not, but there's like a word for people who drive their full race car on the street. And
well,
but like that was
not a full race car. But what's the cool thing about that combo? I mean, I wish more people would have actually done it. Right.
Right.
It lasted.
Right.
Because during that time, if you're not tuned properly, a lot of B20 was blowing up,
Yeah.
and this and that. And
Everything was blowing.
well,
up.
because this is my first setup that was actual tune,
Right.
Especially with the June 3s, isn't that? And then
Because tuning was just so far out of reach.
but check this out.
feel
and then
like-
I was cool with Chris from Hookups, Jake, and
Right.
all the guys. And it's like, hey, Indo, why don't you run it on our dyno jet? See the difference. I almost cried, man. He broke my heart. He made like a 210, 215.
Yeah, he had a heartbreak dyno.
I was like, oh no! And it's like, hold on.
Shot those churches dyno packs. They always read a little high.
But then after that, they
Made you feel good though.
no, for a fucking. It was only within a couple of weeks, man. I was like, I thought I was the man. I was like,
Those 240 is a lot for a B20, but 14-1 you can.
But
Yeah.
but here's the thing though. After they tuned it up and you made like, I think it was the best was like, I think a little like 223, 228, 223.
Right.
But man, it feels much faster.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I forgot who. I think it was Chris that tuned it.
I mean, yeah, 13 horsepower jump is a
It was
lot. Yeah, but I bet you picked up a lot of mid range on that.
Yeah,
tune,
and it felt big. And the gearing,
What'd you tune it on? Do you remember? Still like chrome. Yeah, chrome.
it was on chrome, homie.
Yeah. But chrome was good. Before there wasn't chrome. There was like, you either had the money to buy electromotive or what was the other one? Fast system.
AFC, man. Remember?
Oh, AFC.
VAFC.
Oh,
I never fuck with that, but a lot.
I used to tune AFC. People come to me and be like, yo, I don't know how to tune this AFC. I was like, really?
yeah,
It's
but
an up or down. Like,
I never fuck with that. And then but anyhow, with that setup, man, it was like
so I'm gonna stop on the.
mhm.
I'm gonna explain how that works and the way fuel and spark is controlled off the ECU on the car, which is an engine control module, right,
Yeah.
or engine control unit. And it's all binary programming, and it's pretty much locked from the factory. The car's when it revs up, it puts X amount of fuel into depending on where your RPM and your throttle and your load and that type of things. And you were pretty much stuck with that. And then we had to figure out how to change those parameters, how to go into the binary programs and change the numbers to extend. We would extend line of RPM of fuel and spark tables and just extend them, and that would make the RPMs go further. It was very rudimentary. And then there was a company came in called TechTom, where we were able to just you could start seeing. It would put everything in a place where you can read it and adjust it. And this was very early days. And the only other way to go was like AFC. Right, there was the original air fuel controller, and that was that Apex Apex Integration made the air fuel controller, and I think there was another one. Feels VTech controller had a fuel. It was a piggyback, and what it would do is it would interrupt the signal coming from the map sensor, and it would change the voltage coming from that map sensor to give you a little more voltage to just adjust for. Whether you had larger injectors, you had to bring all the voltages down so you'd have a decent fuel curve. And there wasn't wideband O2s, and you couldn't see much what was going on. And you would look at your spark plugs and see if they were detonated. And you really you'd crank
or
up
listen.
You'd crank up you could listen for the marbles.
Yeah.
And you would drive these cars and you would try and do the best you could. And there was, for turbo cars, you had boost dependent fuel pressure regulators, which would add fuel. It was all about adding fuel because it was really hard to do and control accurately. And it would just usually dump more fuel, and you would just dumping a ton of fuel, and they weren't really efficient. But it kind of worked, and it kind of held together. So when you started getting into things like Chrome, when you could actually throw it on a dyno, and you can adjust your fuel and your spark accurately for what your setup was. And this was huge, because if you wanted to get into a engine management unit, it was $1,000 or more.
During that time, it was,
and that's a lot in the time, right?
During that time, yeah. Plus, I already put in quite a bit.
Right.
Our suspension wise is okay. I even one of the first one in the street that had custom cross member for CRX.
Oh,
It's made out of aluminum.
Oh, the cross member?
With a cross member, Matt. I think he worked with Robbie Gordon after that, and he built Pro Truck, like those pre-runners.
Right.
So, but he run aluminum tie rods.
Okay.
And then he made it all from scratch. From
right.
Like it's not round. It was like all like kind of rectangle.
Right. So do you think about what you could buy? So we'll get into you're getting into a new, you're building a drag car, and you could buy everything now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But what's that comparison to what you used to be able to buy back in the day?
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing, right?
Nothing was fucking available. The only thing is like, run 1,000-pound springs, and we rent to Kiko Blues.
Yeah.
That's it.
There was no coilovers. There was no
yeah, there is, but it's just a grip, and it's just like we're just drag racing, So I was running 1,000 pounds in the street.
Yeah.
It's like that's
1,000 pounds of spring rate, not the weight of the spring, but it's the how many pounds per inch the spring compresses. So it's going to take a lot of force to make that thing move. So the thing was just kind of bouncing down the street. Yeah.
Yeah, especially with skinnies, right?
The skinnies, yeah, that's wild.
Yeah. So yeah, man, but that combination worked really well, and I don't know how it's not detonating, because Endine is so strict. He kind of make everything rough,
right?
Like so. He doesn't like I think his name is Larry Widmer. We call him the old one back in the day.
The old one, yeah.
So he does the chamber work,
right.
And so even with that 14 and a half, I would just knock the timing down a little bit,
right?
On 91, and it's still working. It's crazy.
You didn't run C16. You just pump 91.
Well, on the race days, I mean, do we tune it? I think we tune it on 105.
Okay.
We tune it on 105, but then on regular driving, the 91 with retarded timing was okay. But I mean, that's pretty crazy for running that high compression.
Yeah.
And it's working fine, especially with the rod ratio. It lasts. I drove that shit everywhere.
What was the places? Yeah, there was places you can go and you could pump like 105 or 110. Like Trick Fuel was one of them. Did you ever go to those places where you could pump? You just bought the 105.
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah.
I
remember there was a few places you could roll up.
I was drinking a lot, so
there was a few places you could roll up and just pump race fuel. One was like Trick Fuel, and there was a couple.
I just remember getting fuel a lot. It was right there by the Pomona track, right there on Arrow and Gary.
Right.
Yeah, but that, man, I'm still like, it's like for street setup, I think the long rod ratio it works, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he pushed the curve, like the torque curve, like all the B20 curves. Like I said, the torque curve is like this.
Right.
So with this long rod ratio, so it's to turn it to 1.75 to 1, it's really almost like really close to GSR, like
Oh yeah, flatter. And you don't have such a crazy piston speed.
Yeah, and load,
Yeah.
So it lasts, and it lasts quite a bit longer. Even though at that time when I was doing that, everybody laughed at me.
Oh really?
Everybody laughed at me. What are you doing? Endine, fuck Endine. He's an old guy. Blah blah blah. Nobody. Like I said,
he knew what he was doing.
I was the first one that was actually, you know what? And I sent the head to Texas, this and that. And when you look at the head, it looked like, did he even port it? Like, he looks like he roughed it up.
Yeah, yeah. He was big on that, leaving it rough
on the chambers.
On the chambers, well, for the intake, so that it would like roll. He had this theory about it rolling. Like it would create this surface,
and
like
then he actually
surface boundary layer. Yeah,
and the quench pad is not flat; it's a little step. I don't know how he did it.
Yeah.
So it worked together. So he was the first one that ran Wiseco. So that was made to his spec to work with the chambers. So the pistons and the chamber was designed together.
Right.
That's actually, according to him, it's actually it's better than getting port and polish head.
Right.
So it's like a design setup.
Correct chambers.
So then that was like, so I got the rods and the pistons through him too.
Yeah.
Because that was his combo.
Right.
And it worked.
Yeah.
He was the first one that ran catch can. Like the oil from, he was the first, like, hey, relieving the pressure from the oil pressure.
Yeah.
He was the one.
Right.
I was the first one that was running in the street. Nobody, you need to relieve pressure, put the nipples in the back of the you know what I'm saying? It's like, all that thing made the motor last a little bit, and then Raph a little bit freer.
Larry, right? Larry.
Yeah.
I makes talk to him sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and but anyhow,
I wonder
like
what he's up to. I wonder if he's still around. He was old then.
he was old then, but I remember he was start doing the billet Honda heads, but then I think
Billet Honda heads. He was doing like deck plate blocks and stuff like that.
I think Four Pistons picked up their that program, and I remember that Jeremy was doing something, and then I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying, I was happy with that combo. That was during my time. That was my best running car.
Yeah. Fastest time? What's your fastest time?
That Palmdale.
Palmdale?
12.2. And then after that, me and Eric.
So 11. Wait, was it 11.8?
No, 12.2.
12.2? 12.2?
But then after that, we got a couple other cars. Me and Eric's been doing this combination, So I will get a car. He'll work on it, And most of the time, he's a better driver. So I just let him drive it.
Right.
And we had this really cool car. I got it from a guy that used to run for Eric's Racing.
Yeah.
So he got like a bored out B6. No, it was like a GSR bored out, D-stroked.
Okay.
So I'm not sure about the ride ratio. It's even better than.
Oh, yeah.
It's even better. So it shifted at 98.
Had like a B16 crank in it or something.
I don't know.
Oh,
And then, but the
geez.
transmission, he tuned it. The transmission is insane, bro.
Right.
Like, I don't know what he put in there. I bought the car like that already.
Right.
So first was like, what? Second gear is louder than the first. It's weird.
What'd that car run?
12 flat.
12 flat.
Yeah, best time is 12 at Palmdale.
Wow.
I think it was 12 flat, but it's in that range. But it's fast for what it was, bro. And then we tuned it. I think it was either Chris or Kevin.
Right. Chris Whitfield.
Chris Whitfield or
Yeah.
Kevin. Kevin was already start working with Jason. Guess how much he only made $215.
Oh, really?
He only made $215, but the torque curve is flat, like this.
And with that transmission, it was
With
probably,
that transmission,
yeah.
so it was weird. And he has a cage and all that,
Yeah.
but he was fast. He has Tilton.
Oh yeah, Tilton
Single
clutch.
phase. Yeah, and then so
Yeah.
it was shifting like I think we were doing burnout in third and fourth gear, or some crazy shit like that.
Just because the gearing.
Because of gearing, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, but so that was another combo that was pretty cool. Then
Right.
after that, because of the high rev, the rod bolt gave out one time,
Yeah.
and,
So then, what? That was your final. That's kind of your final iteration of it. Then you kind of rotated out of it.
No, well, I have a full race car.
Yeah.
I had a full race car that I have a couple of full race cars that never come to fruition.
Happens.
So my EF, right?
Yeah.
Matt was a fabricator, super talented. We put it on the rotisserie.
Yeah.
I was scraping everything. I mean, I'm turning it to a full race car.
Right.
He put a DOM tubing, like I don't know how many points. It was crazy looking.
Right.
And one night, I hope he's not gonna watch this, but one night he was tweaking so hard,
Yeah.
he cut everything from the firewall.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then
Because he was gonna tube it or something.
and I said we can't run this
Yeah.
because we were gonna build an Pro M on motor car.
Right.
There's a like you can't cut beyond the
Yeah. You
the shock
can't-
point,
Yeah.
the tower, right, whatever the suspension point.
yeah,
It has
yeah.
to be a stock position,
Yeah. Stock pan. Stock. Yeah.
bro. I had a rear end, a single rear end, all that.
Oh no.
Then we put it on a CRX. And then I was the first one that ran super skinny. Like they're super skinny
Right.
with wheel width and all that. I was the first, but I just never get it running.
So what happened to this car after you cut the front end off?
Dump it, cut it up. Oh no. Yeah, it was so much.
And
That was my
your,
street.
That was your street car. That was your.
Yes.
That's your 12.2 car, right?
No, 12.8. That one
That was a 12.8.
That was the EF one.
That was
yeah.
the EF one.
So I don't realize I actually went through a few cars. I didn't see
Yeah.
when I'm talking like, oh shit, there's quite a few. So I had the CRX at hookups for sitting with the front end. It was the way he did it. It was really cool too. The way Matt, because he's a fabricator, so
Right.
he likes the way the stock headlight looked. At that time, nobody runs the stock headlight.
Right.
So we broke the glass, and he likes the chrome look.
Right.
So he actually molded into the one piece front end, the MB front end.
Yeah. Oh, they
And-
put headlights on the front end.
Yeah,
I think I remember that.
yeah. So he was sitting, but it was full, like it was nice fabrication.
Right.
with the single rear axle, this and that.
Yeah.
It just needed to be dropped in with the motor.
Right.
And then Chris from Hookups was like, "Bro, your shit taking space here. Can I just put it on the wall so people just like a advertisement?"
Yeah.
They put it right on the wall. I don't know how he did it. He bolted up to the wall like a like a whole car on the top of the wall.
He's got something else on the. He's got his parts of his old CRX, like his was it the one he did with Sean Carlson? The what? No, what's that?
No, that's Jason.
Oh, who? Wait.
This is Chris. Chris from Hookups.
Oh, Hookups.
Chris
Never
is
mind.
Jason's cousin.
Yeah.
So anyhow, so after that, my buddy Mark bought it, and they painted it gold.
Okay.
But when you run those single axles, it needs to be dialed in
Right.
because it's supposed to make you go straighter.
Yeah.
Right?
Unless you don't, because it's like a 4-link-ish kind of thing.
Yeah, because Randy Monroe, belated,
Yeah.
he was the one that started.
Rest in peace, Randy.
He's the one that first did that with the Hookups car, and that's how they ran fast. But it was dialed in.
Yeah. That's huge. Yeah, on those straight axle, it's huge to have them a line.
So after that, now we're not even running that, right? No wheelie bars, this and that.
No wheelie bars.
But for people that don't know during that era, I mean, because of what Chris did with Randy,
We're in the 7s. Like no wheelie bar, like no we're in the 7s right now.
Yeah.
How front wheel drive in the 7s?
That's okay. You tell that like 15 years ago, nobody will believe you.
What
Right?
7.5, 7.5, 7.6, something like that. We're in like the 7.6s right now.
Wow.
Like we're I mean.
But what I'm trying to say, like during that time, Randy started a trend. He started putting the merge collector on. I mean, the first Randy's header was my DC header. He put a Burns collector in there.
Right.
Yeah, and he got stolen. But anyhow, with that single axle, because of what he did, all the pro guys was doing it. I remember Beezy was doing it. I forgot now who else was doing it.
Oh, they're all doing it.
They all now think, but it needs to be dialed in.
Yeah, it was like, and then Lamb Strange came out with like a full kit with like the single axle, the lightweight, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it still should work, but
they have lighter components now. You know, they have all these like, I mean, you could just buy shelf parts now. You used to have to make it.
Yeah.
Now you could buy it. So what got you? So you got out of racing for a while.
Oh, long time. I was, and I was just working with criminally insane, partying, and when you work with this criminally insane, there's a lot of physical altercation.
Yeah.
Like we had to do a lot of containment.
Was that when you sold your CRX?
Oh no, even during all that time I was working. Yeah.
But I mean, what kind of punctuated that racing? Like your racing, what was it selling? Was it when the front end got cut off? Or when you sold
When I sold my street CRX,
Yeah.
the one that was running low 12, I stopped for a few years. Then after that, I got this red EG, and Eric worked on it, and he the one that drove that car, and that car was so consistent and fun.
Right.
But then the rod bolt came loose because the high RPM,
Yeah.
Yeah, after that, it was just like, I was just like working over it,
Yeah.
and then promoting clubs. I was promoting clubs and doing live events for 15 years.
And you were still working at the
I was killing I was killing myself, man. I was partying, beating up my body every day, practically I was dying.
Right.
So, but in the journey of all that, I was given the opportunity, either you're going to die or you suffer more and more and more, or you're going to heal. And so I was able to basically reverse, severe kidney damage, severe liver damage, regenerate that. And I had a spiritual awakening, and now I'm a master healer and master teacher. So
let's talk about that spiritual awakening, because you were working with a lot of these the criminally insane.
They're very dark, yeah.
And you used to have to subdue them,
yeah.
right? And that's a pretty incredible story if you want to tap into that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's to the point, like, I had a letter of accommodation of having one of this lady that I looked up to her. She was like a mother figure to me. And if I didn't come to her rescue, she was going to get beat to death.
Right.
And I was the only one that was around that was actually, trying to save her. And she was just laying flat, face down with a pool of blood, choking on her own blood.
And this is and this center that you work at, this is essentially, it's like prison, where they don't send them to prison because they're insane, right? They send them to this facility.
Well, yeah, in a way, sometimes they have different population, but the one that I was working mainly was insane by not guilty of reason of insanity. They call it 1026s.
Right.
But then in the beginning, I worked with 1370s. 1370s is like, they call it incompetent to stand trial.
Okay.
So the setup is like hospital, but it's like prison. So you gotta, when you go in, you gotta go to the sally port, make sure you don't have stuff. You're not supposed to have your phone, stuff like that.
So, and these are, I mean, this is like Arkham Asylum, right? For like in real world.
In the real world,
this is like criminally insane.
Yeah, and then it's not nowadays. I think they're more docile. I think, but during my days, I mean, I used to subdue people on PCP, bro.
Right.
It's fucking snow. You know what I'm saying? But when you're young, you get banged up, you heal.
Right.
After you pass 30, there was a time when I woke up like, I think 35. I couldn't even make a fist. It took me 5 minutes just to like make a fist so I could brush my teeth.
Because you were so physically involved in your day.
Yeah, I had a shoulder surgery from that.
Right.
And I had knee surgery from that.
Yeah.
In early 20s, I already had knee surgery.
So I mean, it was pretty much like you went in there and it was life threatening.
A lot of life threatening situation,
Yeah.
and it's not like when you're a police officer, you're rolling around in a patrol car with your weapons and this and that. No, you're stuck in there. It's like, imagine like you're in a dorm of 50 of them,
Right.
like 8 of us. I was a supervisor most of the time.
Right.
Then you're responsible for everyone's safety.
Right. It's a lot of responsibility.
And
so your responsibility only went up from from your 18.
Yeah, went up, and
so how old are you now at this point? Let's bring everyone up to roughly.
I don't associate myself with the chronological age, So
Jeff's still 18 years old.
I was born in 1974. That's that.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, at this time of the story, roughly, like circa. How old are you? Not right now. I'm just saying, like, what we're talking about, where you're working with these criminally insane and you're subduing them, and you're starting to get these like.
Oh, after 30, I started having all kind of issues.
So this is about after 30.
I used to take medication, at least 15 different medication every day.
Right.
They put me on psych meds. I used to take like 4 medication for sinus stuff. I have 4 or 5 medication for my acid reflux stuff because I was drinking all the time and I eat spicy. I'm Indonesian.
Yeah, it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Spicy is an understatement for Indonesian, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to sleep with a wedge. You know this sexy voice?
With a wedge?
No. This sexy voice comes from throwing up at night, coughing until I threw up.
You hear that, guys? If you want that sexy phone voice, you got to just live a hard life.
Fuck. No, seriously.
Just kidding. It's a joke. Jokes.
So I was actually getting super raspy voice. I went everywhere to check it out.
Yeah.
Right? I thought I was out because where I used to work, I used to yell at the time.
Right.
To get people's attention. Hey, stop that shit.
Right.
Stop it. Get over here. Shit like that.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so I went to speech therapists, this and that. Like, nothing worked for years and years.
Right.
And then one of the specialists, like, let me scope it up and let me see your vocal cords. And it's like, oh, okay. You don't even have a valve for your acid reflux. Like, the valve is done.
Right.
Supposed to have some kind of valve to actually. And then my vocal cords are burned up.
Scarred up
by the acid coming up when I'm sleeping at night and coughing. So that's why I said I had to sleep on the wedge.
Oh, yeah, I get it. The wedge.
Like this.
Yeah.
And then I used to have multiple back injuries. I had to sleep. It doesn't matter how much narcotic, muscle relaxer, or dope, or even alcohol I took. After a while, your body got used to the narcotics.
And you're in pain all the time.
You're still in pain all
Yeah.
the time. So I used to sleep with like a super huge fucking ice pack on the wedge.
And you still have to get up every day and perform.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 shots of espresso in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how 4 shots of espresso with.
It's like a normal life for like Americans.
Yeah, I was out, but then imagine I was still
Yeah.
drinking every day,
Yeah,
partying,
yeah.
promoting clubs. You can only do that for so long. bro.
Living in pain, you know.
Yeah, and
So there was something happened,
mhm.
right? What was that awakening? What was the shift in all of it?
Many, bro. Many. It's like one major ones was like I was so suicidal in my thoughts. People don't know that I was really suicidal. I just wanted to die. But when I go to work, somehow I'm still able to perform. This is go back to my childhood coming here.
Right.
You know, even though I was drinking, I could still get a high grade, even in learning, because it's just a matter of commitment.
Right.
But then deep inside, I was fucked up.
Right.
So I remember we got in an accident in 605. I almost died there twice in the same fucking spot.
Right.
I didn't die, but it was a miracle. It was in my CRV. I had the original CRV, 97. Imagine I woke up with a toolbox. It was one of those Craftsman toolbox with even power tools in there, like at least almost 100 pounds.
Yeah.
It was on my lap.
Right.
Broke the back seat.
Yeah.
Broke the dome light. Landed on me. It didn't break any of my bones between my ex-girlfriend's shoulder and my shoulder.
Yeah.
And it was like I couldn't even lift it on my own. Like it was beyond miracles that I lost counts how many times I should have died.
Right.
But this wants me wanting to die more. Like it's like over 250 times. It's like because of my, you know, and I don't say this proudly, but you know, like when you're under influence and you're driving, you're just like not good, even though you think you're good.
So were you under the influence when that happened?
No, I wasn't even driving.
You weren't even driving, yeah.
You know, because I sleep when I drive.
Okay.
So my ex was so afraid that I'm going to
Fall asleep.
But then,
Because you were working so much and you were just like...
yeah, so I would actually fall asleep and I woke up, oh, there's a car. Almost got in an accident. I was able just to maneuver with my feelings.
Yeah.
And that happens just imagine commuting from Norwalk.
Right.
I mean, from Ontario to Norwalk for, you know, a decade or so.
Yeah.
Now,
There's something that happened
so in
when
that,
when you're working with these criminally insane. You were subduing them. But
there's
something
entity-
happened. Something was going on. And when did you become aware of this?
It took way too long for me to wear this. So
But let's talk about when you became aware of this. What was it? What happened that you became aware?
Real quick, let me finish that story about the accident. So
Okay.
the accident, the people we hit died.
Oh wow.
And it wasn't our fault because they spun out,
Mm-hmm.
they hit the center divider, and we T-boned them.
Oh jeez.
We were in a carpool lane. We couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
I could still hear and see that lady dying, and she was pregnant, bro. The pain that I felt, I was walking around delusion. It took me a long time to heal from that because I didn't want to live. And God said, well, it's not your time. I'm going to take people's life so you could get it. It's not your time. It took that. Wow. So this is what I tell people. Like, do your healing now. Don't be like me because there's going to be a point when it's like God, universe, whoever in heavens you believe in. It's a matter of lessons.
So that kept getting harder and harder.
The lessons
kept
getting harder and harder. All my teachings.
And that was the one. That was like the big.
That's one of the big ones.
Gee.
So, and then after that, my depression was even, I felt guilty just breathing.
Yeah.
I felt guilty was just like, well, God took an innocent life, an unborn fetus.
But that was your message, was like, wake up.
Wake up. Like, this is going to continue happening until you, but then I did a little bit. I did a little bit until I woke up. My kidney, my body was just shutting down. Like, I had all kind of health issues. I woke up one morning and all I see was just thousands of demons.
Wow.
Thousands of demons. I was being attacked every 333. I was, they attacked, but I didn't know it was
Right. So
demonic.
you had but you had spirits that were just attacking you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you became aware of this.
Yeah, and then it got to the point like even in the morning I would see them
Right.
or feel them. I couldn't even feel myself.
And was this correlating with when you were working with the
So when
is that when you started seeing them inside these?
No, this was after years of that.
I understand after years of this,
Yeah.
but when you were subduing them,
Transfer.
yeah, but it was transferring. But
because I overpower them.
But when did you realize that you were subduing them energetically as well?
During that time.
It's all kind of roughly couple months worth of time, or what was this?
Years.
But years. But when did it all start clicking like fireworks?
When I start healing myself.
Right. Okay.
Even during that time when I realized there was like thousands of demons in me, like I couldn't even feel myself.
Right.
So I woke up crying,
Right.
not knowing what I'm crying for.
Okay.
It's just tears coming down, and I look myself in the mirror. I woke up trying to brush my teeth, and I couldn't even see myself. I just see demons and feel demons.
Wow. Yeah.
And then not long after that, it was a struggle, you know. I felt the need to hurt other people and me. It was like almost like a pull. Like it's just like I really had to work hard not to do.
Right.
And this is why I always say people, you are what you feed. People don't realize the simple teaching that I'm explaining to my students and clients,
Right.
it came from a very challenging path.
Right, because you were feeding it for so many years.
I was feeding it for so many years. And then
Right.
at the same time, I didn't, or else I would have been in jail so many times already.
Right.
So this is what I was I was really good dealing with my criminally insane patient because they could see the demons or they could feel the demons in me too.
Right.
You know, especially when it comes to like physical altercation, like, you know, I had to subdue them. It's like, oh shit, I felt you.
Right.
You're just like me, or worse. How come you could be here as a supervisor? Because I don't feed them the way you do.
Right.
Like, you know, like you feel all this crazy, intense rage or even the need of hurting yourself, this and that. It's just a feel.
Right.
You are still in charge.
Yeah, but they were acting on it and you weren't.
Yes.
Yes. Even though you had that, you were just something kept you from feeding it to the point where you ended up on the other side of those bars.
I was extreme of the pull of hurting others or myself.
Right.
Because I was just tired of emotional pain.
Right.
You know, it's more than just physical pain. So I was just, you know, go to the bar. That was my thing. Just to,
and that's because you were so gifted or empathic or energy. You know, you conduct so much energy. That was how you stopped the voices or stopped your abilities essentially.
And
muted
and then I couldn't even tell anyone, even my coworkers or even my friends, that I hear voices because
right.
Then you'd be just like the patient.
They'd put you on the other side of the door.
You know what I'm saying? You know, but it's just like, you know. But once you start actually just committing, you know.
Yeah.
And I start, you know, using this life wave crystal patches, this and that, and it's, you know, everything that I do, it could be water, salt, gratitude. Isn't a spiritual tool.
Yeah.
But it took me even more and more spiritual awakenings to realize that we are the main tool.
Right. And you're like me, you have a energetic martial art background too.
Yeah.
Back from Indonesia, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a pretty powerful tool that
that was like, if you're watching this, everything that happened for you, it is exactly what needed to happen, whether it is perception of good or not.
Right.
Like, my teachings is accumulation of my own experiences.
Right.
You know, I created this teaching of spiritual cleansing ground. It is super powerful. I helped thousands and saved thousands of people with that.
Help me.
You know?
Yeah. I was in some pretty rough patches and definitely helped me.
Yeah.
Continually helps and heals me.
It continues because it's a basic way of dissolving energy, grounded, and purifying energy.
Right.
I created that for me.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Right?
But it's so simple. What's crazy is it's so simple you don't think that you feel like anything that's going to work needs to be complicated.
No.
But it is so simple.
Yeah. And then like today I was with the network of healers. That's why, I got a little late because I heal master healers. I heal master teachers themselves. They are honestly never really was trained fundamentals.
Right.
Most healers don't even know you need hydration and minerals.
Right. I think it's, I mean,
The same thing like building a car. Can you imagine like all these people racing cars,
right.
and then they're on the wrong fuel?
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's like
Just like building a car.
just like building a
Yeah.
car. So I'm glad I listened to you. You kept like, hey, go to do the car thing. Go to the car thing. So I'm going back to this car thing,
Yeah.
right?
Well, because you were so much, like, you heal people every day.
All day, every day.
And I see that, there's this calling. You have this calling, and I feel like God's put you in these in these positions to learn these lessons in yourself, so that you can actually like be useful and be of service. And that's all I see out of you, is being of service.
Yeah.
And I think that you put a lot of yourself aside, a lot of your personal stuff aside. And so it makes me smile so much to see you, like, you got your car, you're thinking about that, and you sort of get this balance. And I think through the car too, you're still going to heal people. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of people that I've seen you. I know you've done healing for driver B. I know you've done healing for
2 years today.
Right?
I helped. He was 2 years ago today.
Yeah.
I got reminded.
Yeah.
You know? And he was in a very bad.
Yeah, COVID. He had some pretty gnarly.
Yeah, he was on oxygen tank at night. I didn't even know who driver B was. When I saw him, he was using a walker to walk.
Right.
Yeah. So with one healing session, was able to get him breathe, and his oxygen O2 saturation in the blood was 100%.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, he got in the low 90s, I believe, or high 80s at night because he needed O2. You know, so yeah, even through this race thing, he got me as a better healer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now it's like there's like a balance in your life that feels like really good, you know, and it's nice to be able to have that. Because I know we sit down and we talk, because we're old school homies, and you know what I mean? Like, and I know that I see all the other stuff that you're healing, and I think it's nice to sit down and talk about the fact that you're human, you know, and you're a master healer, but you're human. And I think that a lot of people put healers on this pedestal, like they can't be human. They can't be not anything but perfect, and that's like a complete. I think that's a big problem with.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know, and I know that you work really hard to make sure that you're not put up on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, and I see that in the way your actions, and I appreciate that. And I want to say I'm really grateful for you. I'm grateful for all the healing you do for me. I'm grateful for all the healing you do for a lot of people. You've healed my daughter, Mia. You've helped her with some spirits that she was seeing and that were affecting her life. And, you know, people who've been in my life who've had some serious issues, you've gone to bat and you've healed them, and you've gone to battle against the spirits that are attacking them and entities in their life and whatnot. And so I'm grateful for that. And I think my point I'm trying to make on this is that I see that in you'll teach a class, or you'll do a cacao ceremony, which is an amazing thing he does every full moon. If you get a chance to do it, just trust me, it's worth it. And then you go out and buy everyone dinner. You know what I mean? Like you're not like, you don't expect anything from anyone, and you're grateful that people are there and are healing, and you just want people to heal and be better and live this life. And I see that, and that's incredible. And, you know, I just, I think it's worth saying is that you're on your own journey too.
Yeah.
And, you know, it feels like since you've got this car and have been working on it, you've leveled up. You've got that out of your, because I think you were thinking about it, and I think you always were like that still called to you, you know, and it's hard to get it out of it's hard to shake that, but something in your calling to be of service is pulling you back into that. And I'm glad that you listened to it.
Yeah. And
because now I get to make parts for your car.
Yes. Yes. You know, like, I had the EM1 making 500, but it's not running right now with the K20.
Yeah.
And then now the CRX is everyone talks shit about it. I did not plan to have two cars. People talk shit about, what do you have two cars? I didn't. whoever planned to have 2 cars, right?
It's our old school ways.
You know, like, well, it was a good price, and then after that, you know, shout out to Eric. Eric did all the work on the car. If without Eric, all this stuff is not possible.
Right.
So, and you're gonna do a talk with Eric, so
Yeah.
you could tell his side of the stories. But
Honda Fiend Eric.
Honda Fiend Eric,
Yeah,
man.
it's got some stories.
So, yeah, so he's driving the car at this moment because you know his use of race. I haven't raced in like freaking 15 years. You know, I was even like nervous looking at the staging brake, or just like, fuck, how do you do that? You know, because we used to do e-brake.
Same thing.
You know, I was like, oh shit. You know, anyhow, but you know, hopefully we're gonna run this Thursday.
So we're gonna talk about the CRX. We're gonna talk
Yeah.
about you acquiring it and getting it. But before we talk about that, let's leave that for the end. But let's talk about what you do. And I think that, because I know you've helped me, you've helped Mia, you've helped a lot of people I know, but I think that it's really hard to explain to people what you do, because it works, for one, but I think it's really hard for people to quantify why it works. And I think that's just worth like talking about.
Yes.
And so what would you like, how, and you don't, and what's crazy is I think we're living in this weird backwards world, and you don't really even title what you do. And that's something that's like, well, what does he do? Well, he's a healer. Well, what type of healing does he do? Well, he heals, right? And he heals healers, and he heals, you know, unborn like babies, or like old people, or remotely like on the phone, or, you know, and just I think that's so incredible, and I think that's so, it's so hard to explain it to people, and I think a lot of people have a hard time like piloting that in a way that makes sense for them.
Okay.
And so this is the audience is broad, and so how do you explain what you do in sort of a like a rough outline, or in like an hour, or just in as much time as you need? How do you explain what you do?
I'll try to keep it as well. I can't promise simple, but here's the thing. Let's use our phone.
Okay.
Right? The reason our phone, you could have wireless, because it has crystals.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So it has energy, it has communication.
Okay.
It conducts certain energy. It's not always great. It has radiation. We all know that, right? So let's say when you're thinking of something, you're dialing a number to that thing.
Right. Okay.
When you're feeling a thing, it is your connectivity of that thing.
Okay.
So let's say when you're thinking of a person, and then that's the thought. So the thought has its own thing. The emotion has the connectivity. How strong is your emotion about that thing or that person, whatever it is.
Right. I think we've all, no matter how sensitive you are to it or not, we've all experienced a thing where we're sitting in a car, and you suddenly look over and you feel somebody looking at you.
Yeah.
Whether they're mad dogging you, or whether it's like a girl who's like, hey, let me check this guy out. But you feel it without even seeing it. So that's like, I think that's the root of what you're explaining. Right now.
Like the gut feeling.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, in the street, you got to, like where we're in street racing back in the 90s, there's a lot of, you know, guns going on and this and that. It's like you got to feel it, like, wow, or going to the parties.
Trust your gut.
I mean,
you always trust your gut.
I've been in the parties during that time. There's a lot of young'un in the gangs. Some kid got shot.
Yeah.
Everyone run. But who was already a charge nurse? Me.
You. Yeah.
I could not leave that this kid, you know, got shot. Like I took it to my hatchback with my homies, and I dropped him off at Pomona Valley in the entrance over there. But I was like, look.
You can't just leave somebody.
I can't live, but I said I can't wait here.
Yeah.
At the same time, I can't call 911, but I knew enough to help them. But and that kind of thing, you know. But
that just shows your heart, where everyone runs.
and intent
Is huge.
That's what healing is about. Number one is intent. What is your intention? And that's what I learned from Bruce Lee.
Right.
It goes back to martial arts. What is your content?
Right.
You could put water. You could put tea.
Yeah.
Right?
Tea.
So the content is what matters.
Right.
That's why the saying content of your character. So it's energetic. What we say energetic means the energy of things. Thoughts, emotion has its own thing. Thinking, you're making a dial to that thing. Da 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 da. And then, oh, I can't hear you. Lack of emotional content, of connectivity to that thing.
Right.
I learned this from like decades in mental health and learning from Bruce Lee and doing all this energetic martial arts from Indonesia.
Right.
That you could learn how to harness your power to break this.
Right. Physical
Power, you could do it. You could combine your intent and the emotional belief. That will you're able to break it even faster.
Right.
Without the physical training.
Right.
So with this simple explanation, you could do certain things.
Right.
The energy that is actually flowing through us, this is, you want to call it God, or that's what's flowing through us. It's just beyond what Qigong and Tai Chi is doing. That is actually...
It's like the Force in Star Wars.
Like the Force in Star Wars. Let me the Force be with you, right?
Right.
In my teaching, which is the truth. When I say my teaching, it's not just my teaching. It's actual my findings, because I help thousands of people. The Force is this field of energy that requires gratitude. The more gratitude you have light instead of dark.
Well, that's God currency.
God's currency. I call it God's currency is gratitude.
Right.
So with your breath is the force of your light. So I always ask people to breathe and then have a content of gratitude.
Right.
Just in that moment, you're actually conducting more God within you.
Yeah.
And
which is, so Mia and I, we do gratitude. And I grew up in a church. I grew up a Christian church and whatnot. And everyone prayed. They always prayed. And there was always something missing in these prayers that were always, and I'm nothing against your like religious, whatever people's religious beliefs are and this and that. Everything is beneficial, but there was something in my heart that was missing. And it was praying for these things that were like, give me this or give me that, or make this way or make this that way, or like all these things. It was like these people were praying these prayers to direct God. Everyone was playing these God directors, and I was just but I wasn't. It wasn't a conscious thought of that, and it wasn't until I was sitting in an Nopi, which is a sweat lodge, with the Tulalip people, like Stormy and Big Lee from the Tulalip people, and I was sitting there, and in this dark, and if you don't know what a Nopi, it's this dome that's stretched with wood. It's a small wooden dome, and it fits maybe 10 people, and it's dark, and there's hot rocks in the center, and they're pouring water on it with some sage, and they're singing these songs, and it's hot and it's uncomfortable, and in these words that they're saying, they're just saying gratitude. They're talking about what they're grateful for. I'm grateful for the earth. I'm grateful for the sky. I'm grateful for these rocks, these trees. I'm grateful for these things. And it was this,
but not empty. Feel it.
Feel it.
Yes, that's the key. You have to feel it. Content.
Right.
Content. Emotional content.
And it was leaving that in Nopi, that sweat lodge, that I just realized that that was what was missing in prayer, was gratitude. And so it was after that as I really tried to make everything about gratitude. And, everything that you talk about, it starts with gratitude.
It has to.
Yeah.
And then I work with a lot of sexual trauma. I had sexual traumas myself.
Right.
And then if they if they are healers, this and that, they cannot cultivate. I call it cultivation.
Right.
In Buddhist, they're used to that, but they're, again, if you're a Christian, if you're watching this, don't take this in the wrong way. I teach tons of Christians how to properly pray.
Right.
So, because I deal with a lot of older people, I don't teach religion. I teach spirituality, application,
Which is totally different.
Totally different.
It can exist. It can exist or not exist in religion.
Yeah.
Is what I've come to terms with, is that spirituality should exist, but it can also not exist in the structure of religion.
The number one thing, it is about, oh God, please give me this, please give me that, please give me that.
Right.
That's a victimhood mentality.
Right.
So when I told older people, because I have clients and students in the past 70s, it's like, what is your favorite way of praying, or whatever? Let's say certain verses in the Bible.
Right.
Okay, what is your emotional content now? Well, I'm feeling like shit, I'm vexed and injured. I can't think more than 2 minutes, and I'm forgetting my thoughts. I couldn't breathe, like this and that. Okay. So before you ask anything, whoever God is to you, your mental health, your emotional health, it's your fucking responsibility.
Right.
So it's like, come correct. So you don't ask, oh God, please take care of this. No, that's actually why you're experiencing this shit right now.
Is that because they're coming from a place of lacking?
No, they're coming a place from just, that's what they were told. Lack of responsibility, lack of accountability of their shit.
Right.
Their energetic and your emotional content, your thought content is your responsibility. Just like I had tons of demons in me.
And you had to make it your
I
responsibility.
had to actually work through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
When they're, even people that are possessed with demons, if you're able to get the person that's fully invaded with demons, just an ounce of gratitude.
Right.
Bang. The demon
Shifts.
is weak as fuck.
Right.
Because that's the light.
Right.
And then they like to talk about their traumas. This is why therapy, I'm against typical therapy. I'm
Right.
against typical AA and NA bullshit fucking, I call it teddy bear system,
Okay.
Because I used to run them. I knew, I used to run
Right.
those groups. I was part of that. But then the big part of like wording and thinking and feeling, I am, whatever that you say I am,
Right.
like Yahweh, what is Yahweh? I am what I am.
Right.
So whatever you say after I am, that's your healing. So again, going back to accountability and responsibility.
Right.
I am grateful.
Right.
Are you feeling it?
Different than saying it.
Different than saying it.
Right.
I reduce pain within seconds or minutes. You experience it.
Yeah.
I increase people's consciousness,
Right.
And
you are conducting.
I conduct. And
So this is something that I think that is important to say is there is a conduction. You are conducting what is that force, or that God energy, or they would call it the Holy Spirit, or whatever. You're
Yes.
conducting that thing,
But
right?
it requires me to maintain my vehicle.
Right.
Like this, imagine it's my vehicle, my energy field is a race car. Am I maintaining my stuff?
Right.
That's the work.
Right.
And this is what most healers don't realize. They could look like shit, they could eat like shit because they have ability to heal, and that's it. No.
Right. Proper fuel.
Proper fuel.
Proper parts. Right.
Yeah.
Tuning.
And who tuned you up?
Right.
Who's around you? All that fucking matters. And this is what the thing is like.
And I think it's also blowing some people's mind right now too, is that you are a healer and you do high level healing, but you're a real person who can just be like, say what you say, and you're not you don't like hold this piety
No.
of like I am all pious and I like maintain this image. You are a real human who is called to action to heal people.
and that's
And that's what you do. That is your emotional content.
yes. And then I still get angry. I don't sit there. But then here's what I'm trying to explain to people. All this spiritual fucking new agey shit, always love and light, this and that. That is, I call it the toxic positivity. Because there is vibration and there is light. I conduct both.
Right.
And people thinking just high vibration. No, light is different. Because if people conduct light, you could pull out demons.
Right. And love.
Yeah. You have to conduct light and love.
Right.
You're correct.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna talk about so I knew you from street racing, and then, we'd run into each other on the street, and we'd run into each other like at Mother's or this and that. And I remember the first time we reconnected, it was at Mother's.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think I saw you at Starbucks a couple times near me, but it was at Mother's, and you're like, "Hey, have you ever had green drink? You gotta try green drink. It's like the best. You gotta drink green drink." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll have a green drink." And I remember it was around Christmas time, and I was going to a Christmas party.
You were lit up.
And he bought me this Jeff, you brought me this green drink, and it was like a blended drink at Mother's is like a kind of like a health food supermarket, and I was like, cool. We hung out for a little bit, talked, and we were like, oh, we're gonna catch up again. And I left with this green drink, and it was tasty. It had some greens in it, and some, I think it was like whatever greens, and it was a blended green drink, and or juiced and blended, and so I felt amazing, right? And I was just like, this green drink's amazing. This is the best green drink I ever had in my life. I gotta go. So then maybe a couple of days later, I went back to have a green drink, and I wasn't like,
It's just not the same.
wait, this green drink's not light. Like, I don't feel as like lit up as I did.
Because it wasn't blessed.
Right. And I get that. I didn't get that at the time. So then Mia started seeing these spirits, and they were waking her up at night and whatnot. And we figured out, you figured out what that was, and there's a huge story there. We can get into that, or we can not get into that. I'm not sure. But I met up with you. We met up with you at Banana Bay, best Thai food place on the planet.
Yes, sir.
And we sit down, and I said, hey, can we meet up? Mia's seeing these spirits. They're waking her up at night. They're talking to her, and, I've had a couple accounts where she's been like, hey, there's, somebody in the office. And I'm like, oh, cool. I normalized it, but I was concerned, and I understand that kids have imaginary friends, or kids are clairvoyant. They see these spirits and whatnot. I get that. I understand that. So I never shut her down. I would just listen to her. And this was when she was maybe 2 years old, or almost 2 years old. She was very young at the time. And so, but I remember I asked her, I said, is this who wakes you up at night? And then she's like, yes. And I said, is he, because I asked her, I said, is it a boy or girl? And she says, it's a man. And I said, okay. And I said, is he good or bad? She says, he's not bad, but he just says mean things sometimes. And I was like, all right, okay, cool. So went to sleep. I said, well, hey, if he comes around, just tell him, please leave you alone. You're trying to sleep, and just say, please go away, and be polite. And so, because I didn't know, I didn't want to freak her out, but I wanted to normalize it. But I also understand.
You don't want to instill fear.
I don't want to. I don't want to give her fear. Nothing. I don't want to start feeding fear. And so, we met up with you, and I remember I asked her before she went to bed. I said, "What's his name?" And she says, "His name's Ah." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So we met up. We had some food. We hung out, and we're talking to you. And I said, oh, and she said his name, and I can't remember what his name was. And you said, was it Ah? And I said, yeah. And I said, how'd you know? It just came to me. And I was like, okay. And you said, well, there's nothing going on with her, but she was like, took your beads. They were like crystal quartz beads, and she was like,
put it in her mouth because she's trying to get energy from it.
Yeah.
To speak.
Right.
Because the throat chakra was tight.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we left there, and we went to go get ice cream. And I was so focused on her. I think we went and got ice cream, and then we left. And I was so focused on her that I was just buzzing. I remember driving home, and I was just like, man, I'm buzzing like the green drink night. And so, and I was like, wow. And you had given me it's a cleanse and ground, and it's like a 2 minute or 2 minute and 40-second cleanse and ground. Maybe I'll put it at the end of this so people can, listen to it. But it was the most impacting spiritual thing. And I come from I come from an energetic martial art background. I spent time sailing around the world doing like qigong type meditations and doing like microcosmic orbit and stuff. So I'm tuned in, but I wasn't tuned up.
Yeah.
Right. I had all the parts, but I didn't have the tuning. And so I sat down and I listened to it. It put me into bed, and I listened to this audio track, and it was 2 minutes and 40 seconds, and it was just this like, I cleared out. It was a grounding. It was like flushing your radiator out, flushing all the junk that you don't need. And it was the intentional motion of doing that. And when I laid down that night, it was this like peace came over me. This
amazing.
It was like the Holy Spirit or this spiritual energy that was just beautiful. It was gold. It just came over me, and I was and it was because I made space and had gratitude.
Yes.
And I think that's at the very core of what you teach, because it was a cleansing ground, and it was accepting love and light. And it was making space for love and light, having gratitude, and accepting it. And it was the simplest thing. It was just the simple little thing. And you were that catalyst in kickstarting that, right? Because of your field and your energy and the work that you've done, and the energy and the vibration and the love and the light that you conduct was able to like set a precedence for just, okay,
Activation.
all right, activation. And I was activated, right? And my life has like changed since then tremendously, right? And so I'm grateful for you, brother, for that. And that was the very genesis of so many stories of just like healing and lessons. And I learned so many lessons. And additionally, just like you, my lessons got harder and harder and harder until I learned them. I learned who I was, and I learned this perspective on who I was, and I grew so much from that. And so, grateful for you. Thank you.
Grateful for you and your work, brother.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing that we're still here, right? And then we're able to vibe in many different aspects and many different ways.
Right.
Not too many people able to vibe in all this different dimension and aspects like this.
Well,
So
I
I'm
think
grateful for you.
I think a lot of people are afraid to say like, hey, it's God, like, because so many people have these connotations where it's just like, they're going to worry about what people think of them for saying that but God is, there's a real aspect of it. And I feel like when people say they know, like, oh, I know, they don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know, but I don't know. I know from what I've experienced. I know from what God's given me to experience.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't know. But I know that love and light and gratitude.
Yes.
And nutrition. Like, I know that these are what you've taught me. Like salts and minerals and like water and just some basic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going back to my my basic teachings are basically what you worked on yourself and give it a purpose. Whatever that the perception of pain and suffering is just a perception. So once you heal, transform, and transmute it, it's like we're all alchemy. We are alchemists. So the fastest thing to transmute a thing, it is to give it a purpose. To look at the silver lining and stuff, but not just trying to jump into that, but have true organic realizations. Without gratitude, you always have the victimhood mentality. Then you all the the amazing miracles that what's been there, you're not going to able to see it because you're operating with ego and pride.
Yeah.
See, with gratitude, you just basically set aside your mind to the side. I don't teach suppression. I just teach them you are what you feed.
It's true.
You are what you feed dynamically from moment to moment in all aspects.
Right.
Now, everything else is just going to help that.
Right.
So we are spirit first. We are energy second.
Right.
We are physical last.
Right.
So if someone dealing with the physical stuff, whatever it is, whether it is an injury, vaccine injury, or whatever situation, cancer, tumor, blah, 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 it doesn't matter. Everything starts from the spiritual realm.
Right.
to the energetic realm. Now, the energetic realm is where your thoughts and emotions actually governs. Let me repeat that again. Governs the energy field.
Right.
So you could get the massage, you could get a surgery, you could get a whatever healing. You know, even today I was doing a demo on other healers
Right.
to show how impactful my approach would actually trump their what they do for a living. But I have to do it in a finesse way.
Right.
You know, like hypnotism, you know, emotional code releasing this and that. But then if there's no true realizations and purification of the field, it's not sustainable.
Right.
No. So we just, and everything in my tools is to basically tools to enhance and amplify and empower what God already have built in within us.
Right.
And the energy system is just like our body is like a race car.
Right.
When we were born, it's like a race car.
Right.
But then instead of putting like a right fuel, we put a fucked up fuel, and so you're becoming a fucked up vehicle.
Right. Right. It's like people who have these amazing cars that are new, freshly built race car, whatever, brand new car, race car off the show line or whatever, performance, exotic or whatever, and then you don't do maintenance your entire life of owning that car, and you run it into the ground. You don't change the brakes. It's not going to stop.
Yeah. And then
you don't change the oil. It's not going to run. You don't all these
and
things.
And then they're having symptoms.
Right.
And they're thinking, oh, it's just the tire. No, it's the alignment. Oh, it's just the alignment. No, before you align, you got to do, the suspension is whack.
Right.
So
the spirit is the priority.
The spirit is a priority.
The energy is the
way you do the maintenance.
Right.
Like how we change oil and this and that fluids in the car for a human. The number one thing is to maintain your thoughts and emotion. And then be truthful. When you're angry, but then let go. So it's not to have a toxic positivity, because when you are,
I love that. and this is why I love it so much, is because I know some people, and I've kind of pushed a lot of people who are, just aren't responsible with their grid or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I know people who are just they're super negative and toxic, but all they post on their feeds is just this ultra positive, like, yeah, man, I'm just super, all these like spiritual positive this, but in real life they're just, and I'm not sure why. Is it because they're delusional, the fact that they are these spiritual people? Because I've had accounts of people who talk about these people who are like, yeah, man, peace and love, but like
lack of realness.
And is that ego and pride? Is that because of ego and pride clogs?
And the typicals, like, all you need is to pray, all you need is this, and think good thoughts for this moment. No, think good thoughts for this moment is a start, but you have to feel it. If you don't feel it, you have to cultivate it. People don't realize you have to work to get like I was saying.
It's like a muscle, right?
It's a muscle. Like your mental health and emotional health is your freaking responsibility before you start praying.
Right.
And
mental health is a huge one now.
Yeah, it's your responsibility. So it's not, and then it's always, you always falls back to that. I call it professional victim. Oh, I need a therapist. No, you don't. You need to realize the shit on your own. I could guide you.
Yeah.
Like, I sometimes have to tell people off this is what the fuck is wrong with you. But I don't usually do that unless there's a crisis and they need to get it.
Yeah. So I think there's something to, there's a lot of people going through some serious mental health stuff. And, I know they're if you're listening in, you're going through some serious mental health stuff. I just want to say these words to you is that, be patient in the process, and there's great love for you here. There are people who love you. And, there is, if you are thinking any thoughts that are suicidal, contact the suicide prevention hotline and talk to somebody, anybody. I've lost some friends to suicide, and it's no joke. And the hardest thing I carry with me is I wish they would have called me. So if you're thinking any of these thoughts, and me personally, call me. And if there's anyone that you think no one wants to hear, we want to hear you, and we want to hear what you're going through. So just reach out to somebody, please. Please, because your life is a beautiful thing, and it's rare, and it's worth living. So I just want to say that to you guys out there.
And also remember, your thoughts and emotion, even though it feels like yours, is not always yours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's another.
That's a big one, and you say this, and this is something impacting that you say is, just because you feel it doesn't mean you
it's yours.
Feed it.
Yeah, and just because you feel it, it doesn't mean it's actually your emotion.
Right.
Look at the like, say, all these stupid mother effers doing stupid shit after a game. If they're by themselves, do you think they're gonna do stupid shit like that?
Yeah,
I highly doubt it. There's the pack mentality.
But that's an energetic vibe.
That's an energy
to
because
that.
they feed it.
Right.
They feed it. So just because you
because we're all receptive and we're all transmitting.
Yeah. So just because you feed it, it doesn't mean that it's yours. Number one. I mean, just because you feel it. I mean.
Yeah.
Then if you feel it, even it's yours, it doesn't mean you need to feed it.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
So let's say, okay, if I'm feeding this, is this conducive at this moment? Will this matter in 5 days from now? Will this matter in 2 minutes?
Yeah.
No. So a lot of times when we feed what we feel is important, it is just to validate our own ego and pride. And a lot of times it's actually to validate the insecurities. And these insecurities are actually the program from your upbringing.
And society, too.
And society.
I mean, look
this
at
is why we all have that short homie that always trying to start a fight.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because there's all this insecurities. It's like, the little dick syndrome. They always have to prove themselves.
100%.
Overcompensation because of the but that's the thing, they're feeding that shit. Right?
Yep.
And then what is attractive to women for men? That's people that were confident, which is if you're cool in yourself and you be real, you don't need to be all lovey and dovey. That's not, just be real.
Right.
Because in what I do, truth conducts more light. So more truth, more light.
Right.
It's not vibration. It's the actual light conductivity. It's different.
I think ego too is something to be addressed.
Yeah.
Is if you are full of ego, there's no room for truth.
No.
And once you diminish ego, you can have more truth.
Yeah, ego serves a purpose. I
believe that
yeah.
when you're developing yourself, when you're
developing
younger.
yourself. Let's say when we're doing this, we have to have certain amount of ego so we could get to a certain point. Now, but you don't operate from ego all the time.
I think that because I've known egos builds cathedrals, builds empires.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it also topples empires.
Mm-hmm.
I know when the MTV thing came out, everywhere I went, people were like, "Oh, dude, yeah, what's up, Greg? MTV, yeah." And I know that fed a lot of ego. And I was just like, boom. But I know my heart content was I wanted to bring all my homies up, right? But at the same time, it's hard to not go through all this stuff and be like, everyone knows you and everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, no meals on me, bro. Like, oh, you don't have to pay for servers I don't even know, people I don't even know." And that's like, once you get through that, but then everything kind of fell apart because I was like, something ain't right here. Because my heart content was always like, I wanted to do more. I wanted to be more and impacting.
There's an emptiness with that. That happens to me when I was promoting all these clubs in Hollywood,
Right.
And I was doing a lot of movie releases. Every movie release and book release and album release, including Playboy parties, we did.
Right.
And that's, just imagine the women and the oh, what did you do? Oh, Rush Hour 3 movie release. I mean, it was ridiculous, the amount of stuff that.
Right.
But then I always feel like shit. Even like you got the girls, you got the fame, you got this and that, and then
it's not enough because you're not grateful.
Not enough. Not only that I was grateful. So my other ways to transmute all that experience, I didn't do it all that correctly, but to get to deal with this suicidal thoughts and feelings is to do charity.
Right.
So I create more stress.
Oh wow. Yeah.
But then it was just
always calling you to service. Something was always calling you to service.
So
yeah.
I was selling alcohol.
Right.
And then we get the money and we do it and we transmute it.
Right.
I mean, I believe we're the only very few group of people that actually sent the money to Sendai in Japan directly.
Right.
So we're in the intention right now. I'm doing an intention to create a healing funds for Turkey and healing effort. You know, I've sent and trained healers to Nepal before,
Right.
you know, with my healing tools, and they work great. And you check out my work if you want. I could send it to you. So if you're watching this, if you have, I believe we are under attack. There are so many chemical spill right now in Ohio, okay? And now I just saw in Texas. But then Turkey, they have 30 people passed away. I have abilities and tools
Yeah.
to reduce pain, emotional pain within seconds or minutes.
Let's talk about these tools.
All right. So number one, my tools is us. So your alignment,
Right.
your gratitude is the main. It's like you are the wielder of the weapon. The rest
Right,
is just weapon or tools.
It's like the wand in Harry Potter, right?
Yeah,
you
but
can't
you
do anything without the wand can't do anything by itself.
Yeah. So the number one tool that I would like to say is like right now is this Carbon 60. Carbon 60 comes in a vape.
Right.
This is super powerful. It's designed for
What is Carbon 60?
Carbon 60. It's imagine if you have this amazing. It looks like a soccer ball.
Right.
So there's like 60 corners of
It's carbon. It's
in
like a
60
carbon
points.
ball.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine it's like I think it's a hexagon all
Mm-hmm.
folded together like a soccer ball. So what it does, it actually amplifies energy to make it simple.
Yeah, and that's because we're all carbon based, and
We are carbon based, so you could literally heal anything in the matter of in the quantum.
And is that because that carbon transmits to other carbon, all the other carbon in?
It's well, this one is actually not. Most carbon 60 is an oil based. This is in water based, and this is design. So it actually has electrical properties.
Right.
So that's just like, let's say, if you energy sensitive, you could actually feel it. I'm going to transmit it. Have gratitude. Sending you love. So a lot of my work is remote. So I would actually send videos of this, and people even in different countries will actually get the healing.
Right.
I'm talking even suicidal crisis will get healing.
Right.
So this basically enhance my healing abilities, and that it has its own properties.
Mm.
And when I transmit it, the compound in here enhance the person to actually do their own healing.
Right.
You know, so this is designed for the C word, the 19C, you know, whatever. So, but this works with anything that is actually, if you have heavy metal intoxication, we all have heavy metals, parasites.
And I'm a metal fabricator,
Yeah.
so this is a lot of the stuff that that Jeff heals me is because of my metal fabrication. I've been working with aluminum. I mean, if you look around Pepper, tons of aluminum work, and working with metals and all the different toxic metals that are in. If you're a fabricator, reach out to Jeff. I mean, it's been something that I've been working on, and I'm grateful for the help to kind of heal that, to chelate those metals out of that. And if you've seen the Joey Curtis episode, he had a lot of mercury toxicity that he had to go through a long and painful process to chelate out. And
you don't need to have painful process. With me, it's slow and steady, and it needs to be energetic. So you could actually chelate heavy metals with just water salt gratitude.
Yeah,
Because what's holding the metal in the tissue is actually a negative energy field. Your energy in the positivity and light needs to be stronger than that.
right,
And then you need your breath and minerals to conduct your light, and that's it,
right.
you know? So, and this is the main thing. Second main thing is this crystal patches from LifeWave. I've been using this to help thousands and thousands of people for 13 years.
And let's explain those. Let's talk about those.
These basically come in many different forms. The latest one is for stem cell, but these basically works as I call it like a healing generator. So we all healing mechanism. We all heal.
Right.
Our body heal and regenerate, but then we don't get the signal. Imagine like a phone. Our
Right.
body is lack of signal to make certain peptide.
Right.
Let's say glutathione is the number one peptide that I help people with you, yourself.
Yes.
So this is just holding this, you're actually making the peptide that you need
Right.
because it sends a signal to the body. So this is wireless technology.
Because we are wireless technology.
We are wireless technology. So a lot of these people that sell and make money selling this, they don't necessarily work in the way I do.
Right.
They are business in this. Most people push the business side. I focus on healing, and I use this as a spiritual tool.
Right.
So I maximize everything. Imagine with this. So
because you're a tuner.
yeah, I fine tune things. So this, I use this.
There's like a engine tuners, which is the most important part of a build, and then Jeff's like a spiritual tuner.
Yeah,
spiritual,
mental, emotional,
energetic,
and physical. Yeah,
right.
all nutrition.
Right.
So, you know how you could put different wires in the car and it conducts better, right?
Yes.
Now, those wires in the body is already built in. It's called meridians. If you ever had acupuncture, right?
Right.
So I could amplify certain of that to tune a person using these. So I create custom protocols.
Right.
But then it does one thing. It will tell the body to make certain things.
Right.
But then if the body doesn't have the right raw material, it's not going to do the full potential what it can. And if your mind is not all that great, it's still going to work, yeah. If your heart is not all that great, it's going to work, yeah. But it's not
optimized.
So I'm all about optimizing. So this is, and then I just came out with this compound to heal vaccine injuries and long haulers. Long haulers, basically people that just had COVID and they're not still dealing with a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, because I
this is work with long haulers too. So this is actually the carbon, but then
because I had this was last year. No, beginning of the year before I had COVID, and I definitely used some of this stuff to get me through, and it didn't really take hold. And I think a lot of these protocols are very useful, and I think like one of the big ones was the protocol, all these protocols plus the silver.
Yeah, the nasal spray.
Yeah.
You have to treat your sinuses almost every day now because of the spike protein.
Yeah. So what's this? What is this?
This is called Rescue Number 19. This is made me and my friend.
Right.
You know, is from a company called Magic Roots. So we put our ideas together, and I could measure what compound that will work against a thing.
Right.
If let's say this turbo guy is flu,
right,
I could measure certain compound that will work for this. So he put it together, and it's been doing amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. So this has only been a month old. So this is going to be doing a lot of, it's already maybe help about 30 to 50 people, all positive and instant. And this is my own stuff, you know. And then the other thing is basically other carbon 60, but there are in the liquid form. I have a few different kinds of this. You had some of it in many different kinds, and this is more on the higher price, so the capsule is more on the
do you want to transmit that and see if they can feel?
See if you could feel. Let me transmit this one actually.
Because if you're sensitive, you're gonna feel something.
Yeah.
And don't have any preconceived notions. Just open mind and just feel what you feel.
All you need to do, and this is just the general health one. So all you need to do is just have gratitude. I'm gonna transmit this, okay? And if you could just look or even put your hands up, just feel that you are open to receive or just have gratitude. Okay, ready? So they sell this at Amazon in even an older version called Carbon 60 Bakiol for $200 a piece. This is before pandemic.
Right.
That's how powerful these things are, and it's so worth it.
And if there's is it still on your thing? There's a video when the first time was it Carbon 60, right?
Carbon
it was
60.
the first time.
Yeah, we did the healing
using it, and I was like, man, I had so much healing that happened, and I think it was just a lot of those heavy metals, right? A lot of heavy metals came out, and I was like hacking up. Just felt like my lungs, I was hacking up, but nothing was coming out. It felt like
you were like heaving.
Yeah.
He was like throwing up unseen objects.
It was wild.
you know, and
I remember it was like I almost couldn't move.
you were in catatonic.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know if you have ever
wow.
seen catatonic. He was in catatonic, and we were at the tea house.
I was crying.
Yeah.
I was just bawling, and it was like old trauma and old stuff was just like coming out, and it was just wild. It was like, and then I think, man, I never felt so good after that.
And then after that, you felt clear.
I felt clear. It's not like, oh, I feel good. I mean, I could drink 2 cups of big green tea and I'll feel good, or some matcha, I'll feel good, but I felt clear.
That's different. You feel so light because the energetic heaviness is gone.
Right.
And one thing that I need to mention also, that these works even when you put it on the hands. So
Right.
it opens up and energize your meridians.
Right.
So this is what I did with most healers. I just like, here, just feel it. And they're like, whoa, my hands is like burning. It's cold. It's doing its own thing.
Right.
So even without ingesting, it's activating the energetic body.
Right.
And if you could do that, that's the base of all Eastern concept of healing.
Right.
It's all based on the energy body.
Right.
But then there's a lot more to it, like the minerals, your thoughts and emotions. Oh, sorry. So basically, I'm maximizing everything.
Yeah, I love that you take so much of. It's not that you take, you do what's effective.
Yes.
Right. So you do what works.
Yeah.
And you step outside of all of the structures of the religions that had maybe at one time had had this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that this existed for a long time, and this is ancient technology that has existed for a very long time. But I think it just got lost and watered down over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's incredible that you get to provide this to people, and you get to provide this healing outside of those contexts and that structure that seems so limiting.
Yes.
And these tools are tremendous, and they do work.
Yep.
And
And
how do
you
they
could do your own healing with these. You
Right.
know, I could create the protocol and you do your own healing.
So how do they get a hold of them? How do they get a hold of these tools?
Just hit me up on Instagram, The Miracle Movement, or on Facebook, Jeffrey MAMORA, MAMORA. And I provide complimentary healing and instant pain relief and instant detox for veterans, first responders, and all that. Again, I want to address, we're trying to do charity for Turkey. When I do charity, it's not just about sending money. I'm talking about sending healing tools, or even sending one of us. If we raise enough funds, if you're watching this and you have tons of money you want to put into good use, I mean, I wish Paul Walker's still here. He'd be with me, man.
Yeah, he would.
Man, he'd be with me, man. I mean, you know, like,
Rest in peace, Paul.
rest in love, brother.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at right now. Sometimes having these abilities is like, with more blessings comes with responsibility.
And you heal people every day.
All day, all night.
You heal people every day. I mean, I'm glad we're able to sit down and grab a meal. I'm glad we're able to sit down and have this conversation. But I know you're a busy man.
Yeah, like I was a little late over here. I was at a
know.
bunch of healers, and I started up healing them.
Right.
You know, a lot of them.
And you live meagerly, and I know that, and I know that you save up for a long time to be able to buy race parts and whatnot.
Yes,
but I know you live meagerly, and you drive around, you drive
Old
around
car.
an old Civic, and
Yeah.
it's cool, and I think that's, man, I think if people knew what you do and how actually functional and useful it is, I think they would throw all their money at you, But
Yeah.
but I know that you live meagerly because it's important to you that this is like, it's never been about money for you.
Yeah, well, money will help, but eventually, if people would like to bless, if people would like to bless me with money, we could put it to use.
Oh, I know.
Well, like I said, like I have tools.
So some of the conversations I've had with Jeff have been about he wants to do things, and when it comes down to the charging enough, he's always like, yeah, then I can do this with the money, or I could heal these people with the money, or I could heal these people. When there was a lot going on in back home in Indonesia, you were just, your heart was really heavy with, you're so conflicted about, like, okay, I can get this fuel for the race car, or I can send money home,
Yeah.
and I know that that's your heart. So I'm happy to see that there's a balance happening now. And but I know your content, I know your heart. So that being said, let's talk about your balance now that we're brought up to date, and now you got this really cool, and you can see it in the opening, but you have this really cool CRX.
Yes.
And it is a drag car, and it takes you back to your roots.
Yes.
So it's very zen to come full circle, right? It seems like you've gone through these steps. You've come to this country. You've overcome adversity, right? Adversity. You've overcome some hard stuff to get to where you were working and working with a criminally insane, got into street racing, and then you had to really face some tremendous demons.
Yeah.
And become this amazing healer through all of that. And it's this incredible journey. And I'm so glad we got to sit down and tell the story. But now it's come full circle, right?
Yes, sir.
You've leveled up. Your heart is evident what you're here to do, and now you're doing that through racing.
Yes.
And so and you're putting the money in, and actually you could drive the car and you could take all the credit for that, but you're such a loyal friend that I know you have Eric drive the car. He works on it, but you know, and it's just this beautiful thing that I love seeing. So let's talk about, and this goes back to your roots too, because Eric was there in the beginning. In the day.
And then I have such a cool brotherhood relationship with Eric, because it's just like when I know, maybe back then I could compare, like, okay, let me drive it real quick, this and that, because I was driving a lot too. But now I know, like, this is the difference when you're already grown spiritually so much. I know eventually I'm going to get in a car, but with all the money and all the effort, this is not just my effort. A lot of people helped this, I mean, shout out to Rude Dog, Kevin, Jerry, a lot of, Sean, Eric is doing most of the work, because I heal all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, my car is at Eric's shop, and he's working on it all the time.
Right.
So I buy the parts, bring it to him, and and to get the car dialed in, it takes a while.
Yeah.
So he's actually doing me a huge favor. Yeah, he's having fun driving, but it's all for. But this is the feel that I like, anyways.
Right.
It's the collective. It's like, just like back in the day, like, like a race car, like a race team. Whoever what is your street team? I'm from Indo Speed, baby, back in the day, because we're a bunch of Indonesians.
Right.
There's not too many of us, and then we only have one or two fast cars.
Well, yours was one of them.
You see, one was actually after that, after a while, it's one. But that's the thing. It's like I like the collective feeling of it, because everyone. It's family feel. Now, once it's dialed in more, though, I don't want to go to, let's say, a race event and learn how to drive the car.
Right.
Because I've seen that too many times. And I don't want to let my ego to break the engine and this and that. You know what I'm saying? So right now the car is running, 7.1 in the eighth. It's bone stock. It's just no valve springs, nothing, no cams. It's just with 25% nitro, and that's pretty incredible in the CRX. We were doing 1.560 foot.
This is nitromethane.
Nitromethane, yeah.
So this is top fuel dragster fuel.
Yeah.
This is the stuff.
So it's run on N5 and
20% mix.
Yeah.
Nitromethane.
Yeah. So
which is, I mean, that's some serious fuel.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize what would happen if you put 100% nitro in the car.
I don't know.
I don't think anyone's putting 100% nitro in the car, right?
I don't know. But all I'm saying is, just for what it is, it's performing great. Now we just put new suspension setup. Thank you again, Eric, for doing for helping me out.
Right.
We're going to get alignment hopefully tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least if we could do some test run on Thursday. But for sure we're going to run on IFO this Sunday.
And this will be your third IFO?
Yes. Because the first one in Vegas, we broke the oil pump. That's like no good.
Right.
And then on the second IFO was here in Orendale. We did 9 passes.
Right.
How cool was that?
Right.
So yeah,
Still fine. Same engine though.
same
Everything's still
same
fine.
engine, bone
Right.
stock, not even cams or valve springs. It's just
Right. It's a stock Honda CRV motor, right?
yeah, a TSX, same
TSX,
thing.
same thing. Yeah,
Same thing.
Okay.
So basically, now we're aiming, and within God's will, we'll hit, let's say, 1080, 1090, even 11 flat or low 11s. We're happy because just looking at that. But if we're able to get 1.5 with some janky ass eBay, coilovers, now we got better suspension and trailing arms, and it should do better.
Yeah, I think you'll go 1.4s. I think you,
Hopefully, but the thing is this: what the whole idea that I'm excited about this. Never once we actually trying to dial in a car. We would never get to that point.
Yeah, how does that feel? How does that feel going from like, because when you stopped, I mean, I feel like around the time you stopped, the whole sport, like front wheel drive, drag racing scene kind of tapered off and died out. It was still going down, but it was like,
Yeah.
it kind of died out for a long time for a lot of people. But it still was going. There was still a back pulse to it. But now that technology and that manufacturing and electronics and people were still making parts for these cars and developing parts for these cars. And now that, the sport front wheel drive class is just like crazy again. What's it like building now?
I just felt like a kid. I don't know anything. Like what I knew, it doesn't apply anymore.
Yeah.
It just felt like you're starting again. But it's just so cool. I'm learning from all this. I call them like the new kids, but they're not kids. But
Right.
I'm much older, but they're so much more efficient. It's like, fuck, man. We used to do some ghetto ass shit, and
Big time.
now I'm like. Because now you've seen like an old motor car could whoop on a turbo car just because the car is set up.
Yeah. Then there's like traction control, and there's
we don't even.
you're
get
not
to
even
that.
there yet.
Yeah, eventually we will.
Yeah.
Because so that's and that's the thing. Just and that's pretty cool. Like a stock car. I mean, a stock motor. And. If we could break it into tens, that'd be pretty cool. And then after that, just do the head stuff, maximizing.
And you're still like your build is still very simple,
Yeah,
right? It's what are you tuning on? You're on Honda,
just K-Pro, yeah.
K-Pro Honda,
And that's
yeah.
it.
And you're nitro car, and you're potentially touching the tens.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's not even like, and
And that's a junkyard motor.
yeah, it's a you could get this, and because we broke the oil pump, the motor's done.
Yeah, and you got another motor.
And the motor, put it in,
Threw it in, and that's it.
That's
Yeah.
it. And that's the beauty about it, right? Nothing
Right.
too crazy and this
No
and that.
turbo, no nitrous, just it's a
Man, I am so grateful because I'm learning about all this stuff. So just pretty cool. Imagine if you just with the top end, maybe even better header. Like if you could run even close to like mid tens
yeah,
with stock bottom end.
right.
Yeah, people do that with turbo. But with some people still call the nitro clan somewhat old motor.
Yeah.
But and that'd be really cool because
Yeah, I can't wait.
What-
I got a feeling. You got a high 10-second pass coming on.
I'm so
Yeah.
within God's will. Within God's will.
If yeah.
Yeah, what's the cool thing is just like I seen like all these crazy built cars. They make 1-2 run, and after that they break.
Right.
We were running 9 passes.
Right.
Even though I wasn't driving, Eric was driving. I had so much fun. The last time I had so much fun like that was in Pomona because we were able to run. And
Back in the day.
in the 90s when you
Yeah.
could run back to back, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, and it's not so much stress, dumping money, and they break shit, this and that. It's a lot of fun, and you're not the only one that's having fun.
Right.
Oh, all the homies have fun,
Yeah.
and that's a feeling you can't buy, man.
Right.
It's so cool, and I'm grateful, and I'm sharing this. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Yeah. What an incredible story.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. Any words of wisdom? Any special thanks you want to throw out there? Any kind of let's wrap this up with some positivity and you want to say a little throw a prayer, throw a little blessing. Like how do you how would you
Number one, I'm going to do the 3D thing. Let's say the car thing, right? I'm going to number one, thank you for if I miss your name, I humbly apologize. So Eric has been the key to this because without him, nothing's going to happen.
Right.
You know, and he put in so much. Like he worked on the car, like this is his car. You know, I feel like this is just like his car. So, and you know, Kevin Tunes, Jerry Build get me lots of parts. Shout out to Mike from High End, you know, and Sean always help out and you know kind of get me in the track, you know, and so many people that helps out. I mean, like healing is the same as building a race car.
Yeah, we touched on that.
It's you know it's never done alone. So always seek out for help at the same time. As far as the work, you got to get the right parts. The internal work, I got to do it.
Yeah.
So healing it's basically your work. Ultimately, is your work. But sometimes it takes a whole village.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't get it to the tuning or this and that. I don't have a truck and trailer.
Right.
I got to ask for a favor.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Or AAA, which is not cheap. So, you know, and then the main thing is just like this, you know, like Valentine's is right around the corner, right?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
It's hours away.
Yeah, so I would strongly suggest Valentine's is not just about lovey-dovey shit, you know. I really feel like treat your homies, your brothers, you know, more than like you trying to treat like a girl that you're trying to bone. You know, who's going to be around are your homies and the brothers that's been around. Take care of them, you know. That's what I do. So it's like there's love and there's application of love. There's spirituality. There's application of spirituality. There, you know, and there's
content.
care of an application of care, you know, and
it's how you apply that content.
yeah, that's how you apply that content. To me, when I'm grateful, I give you stuff, and I actually trying to have a habit of doing so, and that's
You actually give me stuff.
yeah. Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is people don't get it. People's like, oh, you're too nice. People take advantage of you, this and that. Yes, if they don't know how to receive.
Right.
And that's their own karma.
Right.
I'm still a person. If you take advantage of me, I might get mad. I might get to my old self and knock your teeth out. But hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Because you're a real human.
I'm a real human.
Having real experiences.
You're having real experiences.
And you're called to service and you serve.
Yeah, and that's it. And you know, I love my friends. I love my homies, my brothers, and I show them like, you know, the simple explanation, like, hey, show me some love. You know, and I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this should be a practice for everyone. Like, if you love your mom, take care of her, buy her stuff, and spend time with her. If you love your neighbor, this and that, and you know, and do it out of love, not just expectations.
Right.
And instead of just, you know, just a female or this and that. I'm not saying that you don't go out on dates, this and that, but I think it's you put too much effort into it. You know what I'm saying? To me, I wish I would have just cut down the money on dates and put it on a race car. I would have better race car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The race car will never leave you.
The race
car will never cheat on you. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
baby. So I mean, to me, it's like holidays is
hey, love your race car. Okay, that's what Jeff's telling you.
Show love to the people.
Love your homies. Love your race car. Stop spending so much money on dates.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just saying it's all about application. This is what I'm teaching. It's about application. You know, you say you care, show that you care.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, because when you're in the level of my healing, you got to have that. Or
don't just say I love you. Show you love you.
You actually have it and you do it. And because that, if you do that, you will notice you actually have. Everyone has the ability to heal.
Right.
But the reason I have more power to heal because I do it all the time.
Yeah. And I think that's what people should be paying attention to is like, love is an action. So I say this to Mia.
Yeah.
I teach Mia about love because love is abstract.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And love is an action and love is a sacrifice. Right. It's a sacrifice. Action, sacrifice. Right. You think about, I like to talk about like, in biblical, right, you talk about, God created the heavens and the earth, and from a creator's perspective, I'm a creator. I create.
Yeah.
I created this. I created this bus and this bus, right? And a lot of other things, but I've created this bus, and nothing is created without love,
Yes.
right? So, and love is an action, and it's a sacrifice, because I sacrificed so much to create this school bus that we are sitting on.
Oh yes, I appreciate it.
Right?
I'm grateful for that.
Having the show on, and so when you start thinking about love, it's a sacrifice, and it's not just what you say, it's what you do about it. And so I think prospectively, those you guys listening, pay attention to that, right? Pay attention to anyone can say I love you, but who's showing you that they love you? And who are you showing that you love at the same time?
Yeah, and
you show everyone that I've ever seen that you love them.
Yeah.
And that's your healing. And your healing is from love, and I feel love, and I feel loved. And everyone I've ever known that I've brought around you in your presence, you've shown them love. Sometimes tough love.
Sometimes because I get pretty sharp sometimes, but it's coming because I care.
I understand that.
Yeah, because I care. Because when you're indifferent, that's when you don't care.
That's apathy, right?
That's apathy, and that's the worst. When you're apathy, that's a different level of demon.
That's not letting love be in action. If you're apathetic, yeah.
And you're actually being numb to your own emotion.
Ooh.
You could become apathy, trying to be positive and fake your ass throughout the whole thing, and all of a sudden you become apathy.
Oh. Eesh.
You see, you don't want to do that. Just be. You need to recognize the real you, but you need to maintain what to feed.
Yeah, that was a powerful. I had a really hard breakup. Hard breakup. Dark girl, and
I remember. Yeah.
And in my prayers, you were there to help me.
Yeah.
You were like in there clutch to help. Like you showed up, and it felt very divine, and I'm really grateful for that. That was one of my lowest moments. And I remember praying with gratitude and going over these things that I'm grateful for, not just saying it, but feeling it.
Yes.
And I remember when I got to, and I don't know where it came from, but I was like, I'm grateful for me. And I just bawled my eyes out at that moment.
Yes.
And it was just such a profound thing to come up with, was I'm grateful for myself. And it was like, not in like an ego sense, but like in a very genuine, like, wow, I'm grateful for me. I'm deserving of this gratitude, and I feel like
everything comes from you.
Everything comes from me.
How can you love without knowing to love yourself?
Right. Wow.
How can you forgive without forgiving yourself?
100%.
How can you respect without having respect for yourself?
Right.
Now, love for me, you could look at it as a sacrifice, but love for me is discipline. Motivation, you will round up, but discipline.
Well, self-discipline is self-love.
Self-discipline is self-love.
Right.
That's why if you want to learn a little bit more about my spirituality 101, number one is very simple. Get over your damn self. I had to get over myself to be here.
Me too.
You know?
I had to get over myself to start this show.
Yes.
Right? Because I get so in my head, and I get so like, well, what if it doesn't do well or whatever? And when I finished building Pepper and getting her running again and doing the Duramax swap, it was like this final thing of like, I had to prove that to myself that I could do this really hard thing for whatever reason. And so now it's like, I'm here, and we're telling these stories, and this show's going, and it's not about me. It's about you, and it's about telling the people who don't know anything about this generation and what we went through to pave the way, to give them this industry. How
many billions of industry or millions?
Billions. It's $1 billion industry.
Yeah, and then started from,
$20 billion industry plus, maybe.
Without us messing around, I mean, I have this mixed feelings about Fast and the Furious, like We were doing our thing. Fast and Furious came
But
out.
that's why we're talking, because this is pre.
Yeah.
The beginning of this of the show series is pre Fast and the Furious.
There you go.
And so these are all the people who existed and were doing stuff and were paving the way pre Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious was trying to depict us.
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime you have a Hollywood depiction of anything, it's gonna get diluted.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So I mean, I sat down with Joey Curtis and we talked about the movie Streets of Legend, and that was like a real good time capsule. And I know Donut Media did a thing and said this is not the worst street racing movie, this is the best street racing movie, but that's a movie that didn't get diluted with Hollywood's influence, because it was an art piece, and it was like a time capsule, and it was like a real heartfelt kind of thing. But I mean, if you try and make something through Hollywood, how do you really keep it?
Well, that's not my point. My
Yeah.
whole point is like I have a mixed feelings because we didn't get justified. Well, they didn't show us correct, but that's that. But now I've grown over and got over myself.
Right.
I appreciate it in a different light.
Oh, so much, right?
That's a big part of like how big is the industry right now.
Right.
You
We
know?
didn't. So when we shot the movie, went to the premiere, sat down, watched it, and it was all right, okay, but we were so hardcore at the time. We were so hardcore that we're just like,
No, I hated it. I fucking hated it. I remember I watched it with Chris from Hookup, some of the other homies, right? Because we're in IE.
I understand, and it's hardcore. We were hardcore, and it was cool being like, oh yeah, there's this, and okay.
But that's in everything. Like I know a lot of MMA fighters. They're making a movie about MMA.
Right.
It's not. They got pissed off because
Right.
that's
So-
not real.
Flash forward like maybe 15 years.
Yeah.
I didn't really watch it again. I stayed close with Paul. We would do like racing stuff or sit down, do breakfast, and whatever. We stayed close, but it wasn't. I never really hung on to that as like, oh yeah, Fast and Furious, until my friends were like, hey, come over for movie night. This is up in Washington. It's my friend Zach and Cody and Jay and all those guys up there. They called me over. They're like, hey, we're having movie night. Come over. I was like, all right, cool. So I go over there, and mind you, I hadn't watched it since the premiere. Maybe like watched it a bunch with everyone I knew wanted to go to the movie with me and watch it, right? That summer. And then we didn't really, I got it on DVD when it came out, but we didn't watch it again. So that was like the first time I'd seen it, maybe 15 years, I don't know, something like that. And I was just like, come on, because they're all laughing. They're like, what's up, Toretto? Come sit down. They're like, they're kind of like making fun, but like in a good way, in a fun way.
Yeah.
And I watch it, and I'm like, man, this movie's awesome. And I think the time had gone by, and I'm looking at it like, wow, like what a beautiful film. The coloring was just like golden. All the shots were this golden kind of era, and enough time had passed, and enough things had changed in the industry that like, wow, this is really cool. And it wasn't 100% accurate, but it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was just it was a beautiful enough piece. It was a nod to street racing, in a very fictional sort of way, and it was awesome, right? And it made me, the lineage of Fast and Furious has kept going, and
They have one coming out.
yeah, Fast and Furious 37, I think we're on. What number are we? What number are we on?
No,
30.
right now they call it Saga or something. It's gonna be like it's gonna turn out to be like an
It's gonna
action
go on
movie.
forever.
Well, yeah.
We're never stopping the franchise. It's gonna go on forever. Let me know
No,
if you
it's-
want me to be in it.
It's gonna be more of like action movies, like one of the old.
No, it's not an action movie. Are you serious? It's an action movie?
No, I'm sorry.
I think it's an art piece still, right? What?
Yeah,
I'm
well-
just kidding.
Well, but what I'm saying, they make it more like you try to kill me in the past, I'm gonna come back and kill your family.
Right,
type of
right.
thing.
I hope they never stop. I swear to you, I love, and now Mia got to see 9 in the theater. So she didn't watch it forever, but maybe last year or the year before, we watched all of them. And so she was just like, she was a little younger, I think, when I showed her the first one, and she looked at me and she's like, wait, I thought you were Dominic Toretto. Like, I was like, no, that's, it's like the influence behind my life, but not really, because it's a fictional character. And I was like trying to explain it to her. She's like, you're still Dominic Toretto to me. I was like,
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
but Yeah, I hope they go on forever. I love them. Like, I absolutely, I don't care if there's a one of the cars in space. Like, I don't even care. I'm just like, yeah, yep.
Yeah, brother.
John
So,
Cena jumping out, throwing an elbow or whatever. Like, I'm cool with it. Just keep going. Make it more ridiculous. You know, I'm like, love it. I love it all.
yeah. Well, thank you so much, brother. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, that was a
Thank
cool way to
you
think.
all for listening to us and allowing us to express our stories, our lives, our passions, our history. So thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, blessings.
Blessings.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Well, this will conclude another episode of Burning Tires. I am your host, Greg Leone, and this is a bus cast. We are on Pepper the School Bus. If the sound quality isn't exactly as you want it, it's because we're on a school bus. We're sitting in a parking lot outside of Honda Fiends in Irwindale and Azusa,
yeah.
California. There is traffic going by. There is work happening in the background, and yeah, this is the realness right here. But yeah, thank you for tuning in, and I will keep bringing them to you.
Let me.
Yeah, no,
Brother.
brother. That was cool. Oh, that was awesome.
Eric, I feel bad. He's been waiting.
Oh, he's probably. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. See you guys next time.
This is spiritual grounding, my own style. So you need to first take a deep breath through your third eye with the tongue folded back against the roof of your mouth. As you slowly inhale through the third eye, these are the words you need to remember to say. As you inhale, imagine if you're inhaling the white golden light through the third eye. And you actually say it within yourself out loud or in your head and your heart. All negative feelings, all negative thoughts, all the things that are negative that don't serve me anymore. Negative spirits within me and around me, all being dissolved by God's light. God could mean anything is God, that in whatever belief that you believe. So you are inhaling God, God's love and God's light, and dissolving all negative thoughts, all negative feelings, and all the things that don't serve you anymore, including bad spirits around and within you. Once you feel all the negative energies and spirits being dissolved in God's love and light, and with a big inhalation, you exhale and you actually say at the same time, now I'm grounding all these negative energies and spirits to the Mother Earth, to the center of the core of the earth. And you exhale and you send it down all the way through your feet, and you could actually feel and see the bad energies going out of your body to your feet to the center, the core of the earth. After that, you say your gratitude to Mother Earth. Then you inhale again through your third eye. Inhale the light. Inhale the love. and you actually fill in all the holes and the space that all the negativities were actually grounded from. After all the space that were actually being filled with golden white light, and then you actually feel and say, I am the light, I am love. And after that, you pushed everything up to your crown and create a strong aura, a strong shield. As you say, you are being guided and protected by the divine.